It's time for The Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 3 o'clock on the East Coast. It is indeed a first of many Football Friday editions of The Drive with Q coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM studio, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing show, keeping us on the air. We got 2 hours to play with. Well, we'll probably say a little more than 2 hours on a Football Friday, powered by our good friends over at Coastal Sports Network. And of course, Play It Again Sports. We've got a couple of new sponsors we'll announce as the show goes on. But as always, 2 hours to play with. Don't forget the 727-858-6650. Bring something to the table. You can tweet at us, you can comment, you can text, you can call in, you can hit us up on Facebook. As always, we appreciate it. Download the SR 1029 The Game app as well. And football is upon us. The NFL kicked off. And oh, by the way, you are welcome if I helped you put a little coin in the pocket last night. We told you we love Kansas City at home, even though they were laying a 3 against Baltimore. That game had a lot of very interesting storylines, a lot of plays, a little controversy at the end, but we'll dive into it. Jovan Alford gives us a little Philly feel at 3:15 with the Birds in action tonight in Brazil against Green Bay. And then we'll run through the gamut in week 1. We got Nick Costco, top 25 college football, Nick's picks from our good friends over at Play It Again Sports and Fresh Roasted Coffee. And then Lloyd Vance is going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour as well. Nick's going to join us 4:05-ish. So with that, week 1 is among us. Last night, I thought it was a very interesting game. I thought it was a good game. And I will give you my much anticipated, never duplicated divisional winners, playoff pundits, and Super Bowl winners. And I can tell you right now, this will most likely, if you take this serious, then you've got issues, because these are just outside the box, food for thoughts, if you will, when it comes to the NFL and how it's going to play out this season. But I do have some surprises, and I think we'll have a little fun with that. And I'm sure you guys will chime in at 727-858-6650. So last night, kickoff 2024, Kansas City, the defending Super Bowl. Listen, you know Kansas City is going to have a tough road ahead of them, right? You just know that. I mean, this is the way the NFL, man. It's stacked against you. But last night, they did what they needed to do. Obviously, you had a couple defensive lapses. Again, last play, Lamar Jackson doing what he does best, improvising. You got to get that toe down, tippy-toe, tippy-toe, tippy-toe. It doesn't happen. Kansas City wins 27-20. These two teams are most likely going to see each other again come playoff time. They're two really good teams. Mahomes just, again, Mahomes like numbers, right? I thought it was funny last night when he throws a pick. Everyone in Twitterverse and X and Facebook, here you go, Patrick Mahomes. Let's not gloss over the fact he's leading the league in interceptions, right? Just having fun with that, with the one pick. But again, 291, 20 of 28, a touchdown, the pick. Kansas City showed you a couple things last night. They're going to have to figure out a way to run the football, and that's a testament, I think, to the Ravens' run defense. And also, you've got a young star in Worthy, and then you had Rice step up as well. So that's a nice win for Kansas City to start the season. Then you have the teams in Florida, which we are going to dive into as well. Tampa Bay, Miami, Jacksonville. Miami plays Jacksonville. Miami's laying a 3. Tampa Bay against Washington. You got the young quarterback Jaden Daniels on the road for the Washington Commanders. I think it's a good spot for Miami, and I'll kind of tell you why as we go on, especially in the 4 o'clock hour when we do our little wrap around the NFL and the league. But I believe there are a couple games, as we highlight some of these games, you'll get it tonight in Brazil, which is hilarious because think about this. People are getting their balls broke about what they can tweet, what they can't tweet, what they can post on Facebook, what they can't post on Facebook. And you got the Eagles beat reporters' wives tweeting for them because you can't tweet in Brazil. I mean, it is just a debacle. And I don't know if you guys watched this earlier today, but this is something that I definitely believe we should keep a watchful eye on when it comes to the NFL and Roger Goodell and what they're looking to do going forward again, okay, from a streaming platform, from a revenue standpoint, it's all about the greed. It's all about the greed. So tonight's game in Brazil, right? Think about this. And all those games in London, this is the NFL basically telling you. They're spoon feeding it. They're forcing it down your throat, whether you want to accept it or not. That they want to grow this league and add teams. And who knows if there's going to be a time where there's going to be an NFL franchise in Latin and Central America, over in Europe. Who knows? And the commissioner comes out, I think it was earlier today on CNBC. We're talking about streaming platform. We want to give the fans what they want and give them other opportunities. That's almost like a wake up to the NBCs, the Foxes, and the CBSs. Because now what's going to happen is by him saying that, and he actually went on the record, said this game is destined to be global. And there's a reason he makes the money that he makes, which is just ungodly, absurd. This tells you a couple things. The popularity of the NFL, it's at an all-time high. This is not a new phenomenon. It's not. You know, Latin, Central America, Brazil, they love watching the NFL. They do. So now all of a sudden, you're bringing a live contest to the aforementioned nation in Brazil, which is the next stop a couple hours from tonight. You know, you got the juices, you got the energy, you got the vibe. Here we go. Little excitement. Get the eyeballs. They've dominated the U.S. The NFL has dominated the U.S. So it's like, now what? Next stop, right? Next stop, Pottersville. What's next? Next stop, world domination. Latin, Central America, Asia, Europe. They're not going to stop. And then what happens is if you want to take it a step further, and now you want to start adding other teams, some people might sit there and say, oh, no, you're going to start to saturate and water down the process. I mean, look, Jacksonville wants to be in London. We know that. The owner loves going over there. It's the only owner that loves making that trek. Everyone else is like, this is for the birds, man. I'm not doing it. But just keep a watchful eye on that moving forward with Roger Goodell, because a lot of people will say, when is enough? So you got the Eagles and you got Green Bay, and we'll talk a little more about this with Jovan Alford in a couple moments. He'll join us, jump on the show. You look at the line and you look at pretty much how the Eagles season, and by the way, the line is 2.5, and that's pretty much where we thought it would lay. 2.5. They had I believe the third highest total this weekend. Detroit and the Rams is the highest. Cardinals and the Bills are right around 47.5. After last night, it's hard for me to sit there and say, well, the offense is going to struggle tonight. The Eagles have such a sour, bitter taste in their mouth that I bet you they were just counting down the days before kickoff, right? Because they want to prove last year was an absolute fluke. Last year was just caught us at a bad time, man. You know, bad stretch. It didn't work out. We had a lot of grumblings, players hurt, inconsistent play, quarterback question marks, coach-quarterback relationship, coordinator issues. We want to wipe the slate clean. We want to get rid of that nasty taste in our mouths and get a W tonight. And I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit. I think you'll see some points tonight. But I also think Green Bay is going to be up to the task. And what I'm watching for tonight is, you know, the first couple series by Jalen Hurts in the offense. You're going to get the wide receivers into the mix early. You're going to try to utilize the tight end. What are we going to see from Saquon Barkley? You know, Green Bay is going to try to open it up and exploit the secondary. We know that. But you'll watch tonight two very good football teams. No doubt. Two teams that some people believe will make a deep run into the playoffs. I have other thoughts, which we will get into in the 4 o'clock hour. Then you have the Florida teams, Jacksonville on the road against Miami. Miami's laying 3.5. You already know I mentioned this on last night's edition. We dropped it, Back Your Play. Lloyd Vance joined me. We went around the league, and I kind of gave you my thoughts, even on the drive with Q. I gave you my thoughts on Miami. I think they're going to be a juggernaut this year. I think if Jacksonville wants to make a statement, it's got to start on the road inside Hard Rock Stadium, 1 o'clock, CBS. Trevor Lawrence got paid, but you look at Tua, who also got paid. Look at the track record. Look at the resume. Look at the body of work. Tua over Trevor Lawrence, without a doubt. I mean, Miami has weapons, and it actually shows you just how great Kansas City is, by the way, in the salary cap era and paying guys and losing guys and no Tyreek Hill. They just chug along. But point being, Miami is going to be a very good team. This is one of the games we're going to highlight, take a deeper dive in. And then for you Tampa Bucks fans out there tuning in Southwest Florida, listen, this is not a gimme game against Washington. Again, you got the 3.5, you got the hook. That's dangerous. 42.5 is the total. Everyone's looking at Tampa Bay. They're looking at Baker Mayfield. They're looking at the wide receivers. They're looking at the running backs. They're looking at Mike Evans. They're looking at veteran guys, right? Rashid White, Mike Evans, Godwin. They're looking at all these guys. McMillan. Can we duplicate what we did last year? Baker Mayfield came into his own last year. Aside from the really nice season he had with Cleveland, people looked at Baker Mayfield almost as though he was a bust from where he was drafted. And we tend to do that. We typically do that. I mean, when you are the top overall pick and it doesn't pan out, we're going to call you a bust. Bounced around, Carolina, Rams, but now he's found a home in Tampa. And he put up gaudy numbers last year. 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks. Offensive line's got to do a better job of protecting him. When everything works for Baker and the offense is clicking, Baker Mayfield is a pretty good quarterback. He's not going to blow you away with gaudy numbers. But this is a big year for Tampa Bay, man, because you look at that division. I mean, honestly, look at that division for a moment. Who scares you? Carolina's a young team. They're still trying to figure out what they have in Young. Atlanta Falcons went to Cousins, but everyone believes that if he falters or gets banged up, Penix is in there. And then you have the Saints. And we know about the New Orleans Saints. We know about the New Orleans Saints quarterbacking room right now. Spencer Rattler, Derek Carr. I mean, it's nothing to hang your hat on. Derek Carr is a check down Charlie type of quarterback nowadays. So it's there. It is there. Okay? It is there. And I'm telling you right now, they can turn around and I think they can win the division. Okay? I don't know how far they can go. I don't. But I believe that they can make some noise, and it's got to be Baker Mayfield leading the way. Our guy, Gas Pump Guy, chimes in via the text board. NFL Hallmark channel. I was listening to another radio station before you guys. All right, we'll allow it. Came on. They were saying the Chiefs are going to have a show on Hallmark in November. This is the crap that's getting out of hand. Wow. What is it? What is it going to be like a merry Chiefs Christmas? Right? Kansas City Christmas. Andy Reid's dressing up as Santa. Yeah, I don't know, man. The NFL is just a juggernaut. And Gas Pump Guy continues. I think if the Bucks can get the run game established, we're going to be pretty lethal team, especially with all the good wide receivers. We got some good tight ends too. Russ, White, Irving can catch out of the backfield. Hopefully everything goes well. I don't think Tampa is a 12-win team, but I think Tampa can win 9 games, and that should be enough to win the division. That should be enough. But you've got the teams now there for our Floridians, our Florida audience chiming in and listening in. Jacksonville, there's pressure on Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. Miami, there's pressure on Tua because of the contract they gave him. Everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop with Tua. I think Tampa, out of the 3 teams, is kind of playing with house money. All right, 15 past 3 o'clock hour. Just cranking it up on a Football Friday edition, the first, right here on The Drive, and many, many more right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. Don't forget, we are part of the Coastal Sports Network, powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clements Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. Check them out online right now for all your used sports equipment and more. And all you have to do is visit them online, playitagainsports.com, #/, and then you can put the location. Deptford. Also, they're open 7 days a week, very convenient store hours. You can trade in your used sports equipment and more. Give them a call as well. So they're one of our very proud and loyal sponsors over the years, not only with Middays with Q and, of course, now with the Drive with Q, but also BYP. Speaking of which, we'll talk a little gambling on the other side, player props, because I'm sure he's got them. We'll get to our guest, Jovan Alford, on the other side. Got to take a quick time out, just cranking up on a Football Friday edition of the Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass, 727-858-6650. We'll take you up to 5-ish on this Friday. Keep it locked in. Jovan Alford on the other side.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
Bumper guy. 16 past 3 o'clock hour. Yeah, I mean, listen, when you need the bumper guy knows exactly what to do. He steps in, and we had him hanging out in the Q room, but he's kind enough to join us. Jovan Alford. Give him a follow on X at Jovan10. Does great stuff with Fansided. Also, check him out doing the bets. He does the player props like no one else on FTN betting. He's got the pod. He's all over the place. And TotalSportsLive.com. Kind enough to join us on a Football Friday. What is going on, my friend?
I'm doing good. Always be glad to be on the show with you, Rich, talking some football. I can't believe week 1's already here. I feel like the preseason just ended and we were just getting into training camp, and now all the real action begins. The nonstop drama for 18 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah. I mean, for some teams, it could be 4 weeks if I get to Halloween with the Giants. So I mean, I feel like we were just talking NBA and some crazy playoff props, right? But all right, listen, you got the Eagles and Green Bay tonight in Brazil, and is it an overstatement to say that this year could be a make or break? Like it could be a referendum on Jalen Hurts' and Nick Sirianni's career, right? Because we always like to, head coach, quarterback, that relationship, keep them together intact. It's often at times it could be a very unique relationship, but I look at it as I think this is a make or break year for the Eagles. I think if they struggle and if Hurts gets hurt, or if they struggle, or if catastrophic, they miss the playoffs, they get bounced early, you're going to see a shakeup. So again, am I overstating this, or is this an understatement?
No, I don't think you're overstating it. I think that's probably the best way to look at it for this team, given just where they were a couple years ago playing in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, which was also looking back at it now almost like a blessing and a curse at the same time because they got somewhere where they weren't supposed to so quickly, and now the expectations are you're supposed to make a deep playoff when you're not supposed to lose 7 to 8 games to end
Correct.
last season into the playoffs. So I think for them, if they don't go well, obviously part of the blame will go on the quarterback because that's just the NFL. Doesn't matter who you are, the quarterback will shoulder that. But I think it will be ultimately Nick Sirianni, given that they pretty much cleaned out the entire staff on both sides of the ball and left him, which is like you've talked about before on the show many times, which is something that doesn't happen. Like usually the head coach is going to clean the house. So the fact that they went out and cleaned house and got two experienced coordinators and Fangio and Moore to kind of lead both units, it kind of puts Sirianni in a spot where it's just like, we need you to be the head coach, and can you be that leader and be that, I hate using this word, but like the CEO head coach that people like to use, like, can he be that guy? And if he doesn't, maybe that opens the door for a Kellen Moore to step in, because that's a guy, that we've heard over the last few years be mentioned in, potential, head coaching opportunities. And this could be the spot for him if Sirianni, doesn't get it done, or if they have a similar collapse like they did last season where they were 10-1 and then just fell completely on their face.
Well, and again, that's the big thing, right? They fell completely on their face and they had that bad stretch close out the season. And that's why I think sometimes you want to kind of make it up, right? I mean, it's almost like losing 6 or 7 hands in blackjack, and then let me do reverse progression betting and lay down 100 and try to make up all my losses, which is foolish. But you can't make up a season in a series. With that being said, I look to them to try to open it up tonight, right? I know there's going to be Monday morning quarterbacking if the offense struggles, and people are going to say this is why you have to give these guys reps in the preseason. But I feel as though we haven't talked enough about the loss of Jason Kelce and how they are or not going to utilize Saquon Barkley, right? How many touches, are we going to have him out of the backfield? Are we going to run Hurts with maybe some RPOs and just kind of have someone potentially maybe shadow Barkley and try to open things up? So how about the loss of Kelce? I mean, from a veteran leadership standpoint and just really from being a great all-time center, how much does that hurt the Eagles now, even though we know they have a decent offensive line?
It hurts because, and I think this is any sport in any position, anytime you lose a future Hall of Famer, you will not be able to replace that. Doesn't matter who that is. Like, the next guy will never be able to fill those shoes left by that guy that played before him. And to see, obviously losing Kelce, like you said, losing a leader, but a guy that, was also, and I think he alluded to it, this week on New Heights, a guy that was, did a lot of the checks at the line, the protections, all those things that, us as a fan, we don't see on TV. We see just, the quarterback makes the play, boom, 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 happens. So now that onus falls on Jalen Hurts to kind of take over in that leadership role, to make the calls at the line, to see something and change something you don't need to be. But I think if you're Eagles or an Eagles fan, I think you have to be confident that you do have a guy in Cam Jurgens who was kind of picked to be, Kelce's replacement, and a guy that they feel comfortable with even drafting a couple of years ago, giving him reps at right guard to down, move him into that center position. I think there probably will be some growing pains a little bit because you're putting, this is a new battery combination and Jurgens and Hurts, but I think it should work out because you're also seeing, you still have your 2 tackles are solidified with Mailata and Johnson. You have Dickerson at left guard, who's been good. And then right guard, being able to turn around the career of Mekhi Becton and, who's been a revelation at, in training camp and becoming a solid right guard at Stoutland University and having him be that guy. I think offensive line is, I would say it's not going to be as probably the same with Kelce, but I still think they're going to be in very good shape.
Does Saquon Barkley have this type of I never left year? Like, do you foresee Saquon Barkley getting 330 touches, rushing for 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns? Or do you think Saquon Barkley will have his moments, his flashes? And I feel as though they underutilized DeAndre Swift. What makes me, and they're both very good backs, but Saquon's always banged up. But what makes me think they're not going to do the same to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I think the have Saquon touch the ball 330 times, that would be crazy. I don't think that would happen, just because I do think they also like Kenny Gainwell and also the rookie Will Shipley out of Clemson. And I think you probably want to not so much manage, but you don't want to have your guys get beat up and you're just overworking them. But I do think with Saquon, unlike what I thought they should have did with DeAndre Swift, where I felt like DeAndre Swift should have been used more in the passing game as a running back out the backfield, I think having Saquon in the backfield, I think will allow them to use him as a pass catcher out of the backfield, which, has been a staple in Eagles offenses for years, even going back to obviously with Andy Reid and Shady McCoy and Brian Westbrook, having that guy be that pass catcher. And I think Saquon does that. He's that 3-down back that the Eagles have been looking for. Obviously, Swift wasn't that guy because they were bringing Kenny Gainwell to be that pass protection option for blitz pickup. So I think Saquon will fill that role. I don't think he'll get 330 touches, which would just be ridiculous, but that means that the Eagles offensive line is doing their job and his job. But I do think he's going to do good. I think he's, like you said, I think he's going to have moments and flashes in games where it's like, oh, this was the guy that was drafted in the first round.
Right.
This is it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Eagles over the years, they've always had the 1-2-3 kind of punch when it comes to the running backs. I mean, the year they won the Super Bowl, think about the guys that they had back there, right?
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount,
an undrafted, and an undrafted kid out of Deptford and Corey Clement. So, that offensive line, I'm wondering, are there player props or there line props for the tush push tonight? Because I know we say jokingly, but it was almost unstoppable in short yardage situation, right? So now you have no Kelsey, but yet you do have Saquon. So it's like...
Right. Yeah, no, and that's funny. I wish there was props for that, because that would be kind of cool to check out. I wouldn't be surprised if underdog or props picks.
Right.
That would have that. But it will be interesting to see if they do the tush push, because, again, Cam Jurgens isn't Jason Kelsey, right? And it's all about the lower man wins, but maybe we see different things. I mean, I think the Eagles last year, if I remember correctly, toyed around with doing a lot of different things off the tush push, where the running back would just, take the ball and they would pitch it out and things like that. So maybe we see a little bit of tush push. I think everybody probably will expect it if they get in 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, will it happen type situation. But maybe they surprise us and say, no, we're going to give it to Saquon on 3rd and 1. We're going to give it almost 2nd and 1. So that's something I'm going to be watching out for sure.
Is this team a playoff team, or is this team a Super Bowl contender?
Ooh. Good question. I would want them to be a Super Bowl contending team, but I think right now playoff team, just because it's more so not about the offense. I think the offense will be fine. I think having a guy like Kellen Moore and the pieces that they have with that cohesiveness of all of those guys being together, I think they'll be fine. I think the biggest question marks, which will kind of tell us if they can become a Super Bowl contending team, is the defense, right? You lost Fletcher Cox also to retirement. You traded away Hassan Reddick. You bring in Bryce Huff, who was more of a rotational pass rusher. Now you paid him to be a full-time, even though that doesn't really exist these days, but be a guy that's on the field more than just in situational pass in, 3rd down situations, paying him to be that guy. I mean, you got Davis and Carter. So the defensive line, I think, really has a lot of hope. Is just that, can you get pressure, which was one of their big issues last year. I think they were only had 43, 45 sacks. It was a complete difference from what they did under Jonathan Gannon. I think, depending on what you get from the defense and Fangio, the linebacker unit always is going to be something that's going to be a question mark. You want to see if Nakobe Dean can stay healthy. What happens with Devin White? Does Jeremiah Trotter Jr. continue to make his ascension? And I low-key think the Eagles secondary is actually in really good shape. I know it's not as ideal with, starting a rookie out there, but that's what you drafted him for, Quinyon Mitchell. I think the secondary is really going to be good. It's just
but I'm not as high on the secondary as you are, right? And here's the other thing, everything you're pointing out, they're excellent points. But like anything else in life, it's all about DFs, right? Because if they can't get to the quarterback, I mean, tonight's a perfect example.
Yes.
Green Bay can run the football, and Jordan Love can air it out. I mean, they finally have wide receivers that are doing something they couldn't do with Aaron Rodgers, right? The young guys catch the friggin' football, right? I don't know if they were scared to drop every time he was slinging it, but you go back and go to the playoff game against Dallas. What did Green Bay do? Right away, they established a ground game.
Yep.
And I get it, different running backs now, but they were able to pound the friggin' football. They were able to, again, keep drives alive. And I think that's the key to tonight. If you allow Green Bay to convert 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and shorts, you're in trouble. You have to put them in 3rd and 13, right? You've got to now put the ball in Jordan Love's hands and say, okay, make some plays here, right? Make some Now we know we can, but again, are the plays going to be 20 to 20? Are they going to be the big plays over the top? And if that's the case, then I think it's going to be one of these goofy kind of maybe a 28-24 type of game. I mean, that's just me kind of handicapping the game tonight.
No, I definitely think that could happen, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Like you said, these Packers wide receivers are really good, and they're all young, and they've all kind of developed together, right?
Yeah.
It all, Romeo Dobbs played well last year. Jayden Reed as a rookie really stood out and kind of almost assumed that number one role because of the injury, situation with Christian Watson. But when he's healthy, he can take the top off the defense. You got Dontavian Wicks. You got Musgrave. I don't know if Tucker Kraft is playing. I know he was banged up, but like you said, if they can establish the ground game with Josh Jacobs, which you hope because you paid him so much, right? If they gash the Eagles, it's going to open up those big plays, and it's going to put Darius Slay and Quinyon Mitchell, Keely Ringo in those one-on-one spots, and it's going to be up to them. Can they make those plays to not allow a big-time touchdown score to, give Jordan Love and that offense confidence?
3:31 on a Football Friday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here, powered by Coastal Sports Network, Played Against Sports. And, of course, our football talk from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Jovan Alford, kind enough to join us. You guys can get in on the conversation, 727-858-6650 as well. All right, give me an obscure or two player props for tonight's game, and then I want to kind of go through a couple games that I like with you this weekend.
Obscure? Ooh, that's a good
not
one.
obscure. I mean, I guess I have to say that for broadcasting sake.
We can go obscure. I mean,
I should phrase that. Give me 2 or 3 solid, right? Where potentially you're backing your player props.
Well, I always put the disclaimer out there. I'd never bet on the home team for various reasons, but I will say I would look out for maybe Jalen Hurts rushing yard prop coming into this game, just given what we saw from Lamar Jackson last night and how he was able to step up in the pocket and make some plays. If the Packers are getting pressure, we know Hurts is not scared to run the ball. I think his rushing prop on DraftKings is at 39.5. That's not impossible given what Hurts did to this Packers team. I know it was a completely different team a couple years ago, but he carved them up on the ground. So I would look at that, and I would also look at this is probably like really out of the picture and probably super off the radar, but maybe you look at a Romeo Dobbs anytime touchdown, because again, so much attention is going to be put on Christian Watson, on Jayden Reed, especially what Watson can do over the top, but also what Reed can do in the intermediate parts of the field. I think Romeo Dobbs, another guy, big play guy, could score a touchdown. And I would think about looking at, if they have his number, Jahan Dotson. Maybe Dotson makes a big play. I know it's 6-1, which is just crazy odds, and a lot of people would just look past it because you have Devontae Smith, right, things like that. But a guy that can stretch the field, they obviously traded for him for a reason, because they were not satisfied or happy with what they were getting out of wide receiver 3. So those are just some of the few plays that I would look at and think about putting down some money on.
They had one of the 3 highest game totals of the weekend. Obviously, Detroit and the Rams, that's the biggest one. I am curious to get your thoughts on a couple games before I let you get out of here. Jovan Alford, again, kind enough to join us for a couple moments. You guys can get in on the conversation, 727-858-6650. I want to kind of highlight some of the Florida teams for our Southwest Florida audience. You've got Tampa at home and Washington going on the road with a rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who I think everyone's jumping. They're gravitating towards the kid, offensive rookie of the year. Here we go. Washington, give me the odds, give me the money, put it in the pocket and bank it. Tampa plays in a bad division. It's almost like by default, you would think the Bucs would win that division, right?
Right.
But again, I look at this as it's really tough to be a rookie quarterback and go on the road and win your first career start. Maybe this Washington team is different. I think Tampa does just enough. I don't see a ton of points being scored in this one, so I'm kind of leaning towards the under.
Yeah, I would lean towards the under too, and I think we also got to remember it's Todd Bowles too. And
that's
Todd
an excellent
Bowles,
point.
I vividly remember what Todd Bowles did to Jalen Hurts the first couple times he saw him, he pretty much had him in the torture chamber. Like he
Yeah. Yeah.
just couldn't do anything. And I would expect the same thing that he would try to do to Jaden Daniels, just because that Washington passing game, who else are you going to depend on to step up outside of Terry McLaurin? I know they have Zach Ertz, who is reunited with Cliff Kingsbury, and he did some things with Cliff, but who's going to be that other guy to step up offensively to help out McLaurin and to help out Daniels? So under could be the play here. And I wouldn't be, again, depending on what money line price is, take the Bucks too, and like some small parlay too, because I think they should be able to handle business.
I think Miami routes Jacksonville. Listen, I know Jacksonville. Look, they had to make all these changes last year when the quarterback was struggling and the head coach looked clueless. So what do? They get rid of the coordinator. Tua, got all that money. We know about Miami's speed. There's a lot of expectations for the Dolphins. I get it. You got the hook at 3.5. The total is 48.5. I can see this being a 30-17, 33-17 type of game where Miami pulls away. I don't know. Maybe I'm too biased with the Dolphins because I love the city of Miami. But I'm a Tua guy. I'm a Tua fan, and I like the head coach. And they've got wall-to-wall speed all over the place.
Yep.
I just thought last year they couldn't contain Josh Allen. They lose that game on Sunday night, and they have to go on the road to play Kansas City. And that's a tough challenge on the road, bad weather. But I like Miami. I think Miami is at least 10 points better than Jacksonville on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm surprised that spread is, like you said, hovering around that 3 number, just given there's not a lot of teams that have the personnel to stick with this speed, right? Like you said, Waddle, Hill, A-Chain, Mostert, and then you got the rookie Jalen Wright too in the backfield. If Tua gets protection and they can hold up, I don't see this Jaguars secondary being able to slow these guys down. Now, offensively, Jacksonville, the key is what Trevor Lawrence are you going to get? What's the play calling going to be like? Because this is probably pressure time too for Doug Peterson. So lots going to be on the shoulder of Trevor Lawrence, especially with the revamped wide receiver core they have in Jacksonville.
Yeah, is it going to be a 21-28 for 275 and 3 touchdowns, or are it going to be an 18 for 35 for $186 and a fumble and a couple picks?
Right.
We don't know. 2 other games that kind of piqued my interest, and I think I mentioned this to you. I've texted you this. I think we've talked about it. I just think the Patriots are a bad football team. I know you're a little high on them with their defense, but as soon as you say that, they trade their best defensive player.
Right.
I mean, it's sat. I think it's dipped. I believe it was 8.5, 8. It's now 7.5. It'll probably close at 7. And I would not even be gun shy if it got bumped, right? If we juiced it to get over at 8. If Cincinnati does not put up 33 and they don't blow their doors out, I think that's more of an indictment on Cincinnati than New England.
Yeah, no. And I think obviously the line went down a couple points because of the questionable statuses with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Right. More so Higgins dealing with the hamstring that I think flared up on him on Thursday. And Chase looked like he's at practice, but the whole contract situation, he's kind of playing coy of like, we'll see, maybe I'll play type of situation. But even if they don't have those guys or even have one of the two, Burrow and company need to send a message. They need to come out strong. They need to put their foot down on this Patriots team who's defensively, again, like I've said before, they got some talent there, but I don't trust this defense, this defense more so because of no Judon. Then you got Christian Barmore not on the defensive line either because of the blood clots that he's dealing with. So since he should roll, if they don't have one of those two, I still think they should win pretty comfortably because Jacoby Brissett didn't do much or show enough, I think, to be confident in.
All right, last, I'm going to get hammered for this. And I told everyone Justin Fields is going to be the week 1 starter. Russ already dealing with an injury. I mean, listen, that's a trick. You talk about a calf injury, calf soreness, calf strain. A guy his age and mobility was once, his Samson to his hair, right? From one good hair guy to another, right? That was his strength. And now you take away that. I'm telling you, man, if New England's bad, and Russ isn't cooking and Russ isn't marinating, it's a good spot for Fields. I have to stand by what I said on BYP. I think Fields is going to start the majority of the games this year. I thought Fields was going to be a week 1 starter. Now, The caveat is I didn't think it was going to be because of an injury to Russell Wilson. I think he
Right.
flat out outplayed Russell Wilson, but we know this veteran quarterbacks are more inclined to stick with veteran quarterbacks over, in this case, a young, and you can say to some extent, a kid that struggled. But man, I'm looking at this line right now. 3.5 again, Atlanta at home. Captain Kirk. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? If Field starts, that line's probably going to go to 4.5, 5, is it not?
Probably, and it's probably going to be based off of just previous of the last time we saw Justin Fields, and
Yeah.
is going to play on that. But I think if Fields starts, it gives the Falcons defense a little bit something else different to think about, because with Russ, like you said, you're not really worried about him mobility
Mobile
wise.
quarterback.
You're just worried about him with his arm, and given this Steelers offense where they don't have a quality wide receiver too, outside of George Pickens, I know they got a solid, tight end combination. Having a guy like Justin Fields with Arthur Smith, this will be kind of his revenge game, maybe, as offensive coordinator going back to Atlanta. I think Arthur Smith could do some different things with with Fields to kind of move the pocket, get something down with the running backs, Cordero Patterson, maybe something. But if that line kind of moves up, I might be tempted with you to probably take that Steelers number, because I don't know what Atlanta's going to be with Kirk Cousins. He hasn't played in a long time. Like, I don't know.
All right, got 30 seconds. Give me your NFC representative and your AFC. Give me your NFC championship, AFC championship.
Oh, no. NFC. Oh, boy. NFC, I'll go with.
How is it week 1 and you're not even hedging right now? You should have this locked and loaded, ready to go. I know this is not back your play, but
I'm not a guy that dives into prognostications like that of that extent.
Taking an underlying shot at me. Go ahead. Who do you got?
If I had to say something, I feel like Green Bay is everybody's favorite. I'll probably go with maybe Detroit to come out the NFC. I feel like if they didn't implode the way they did, and I know they made some moves on defense, and getting Terrion Arnold in secondary should help them, because that's where they struggled at the most. And AFC, I know Kansas City is the favorite, but we might see a reemergence of Cincinnati. I think Cincy might show us a little something. I feel like going with Baltimore or going with Kansas City is like the chalk, but I think Cincinnati, after how things kind of played out last year, I think they got a lot to prove. And if Chase gets paid and Higgins is healthy, then they should be able to do a little something. So I'm going to go Bengals Lions for right now. Double check with me later in the season. So.
Hey, all right. I guess, listen, if you order when you're out, like you do with your football picks, I don't know how the hell you eat, but that's okay.
I told you, I'm not about future prognostication. I'm all about week to week.
We all are, right?
My list is all there.
At Joe at Jovan Alford fan sided, also FTN bets, and check out the pod totalsportslive.com. He's going to join us throughout the season, and obviously one of our good contributors would back your play as well. All right, brother, I appreciate you. Go enjoy the games tonight, and obviously the games this weekend. Appreciate you jumping on board for a couple moments.
For sure. Appreciate y'all for having me.
All right, there you have it. My guy, Jovan Alford. I like to throw, I like to just kind of throw the softballs once in a while, but then sometimes we got to throw the curveballs a little bit. But no, Jovan's great, man. And he's a great follow on X when it comes to player props, especially with the NBA. He has a really good hit rate with the NBA and does really well with the NFL as well. So that's good stuff. He a little higher on the Philadelphia Eagles than I am. Especially with the secondary. I think they're going to be tested tonight, man. I really do. I think they're going to be big time tested tonight. And that's, we always say that offenses are always behind the defenses. Is that going to be the case tonight? Or is it going to be a high scoring game? I don't know. I'm looking around the league right now, and I'm looking at some of these games. And I know the lines, they're sitting right at 3, 3.5. You got to be real careful. But then there are also some lines that are just absurdly high. Absurdly high. Here's a game that I'll illustrate and I'll probably highlight a little more from a betting standpoint in the 4 o'clock hour, Arizona and Buffalo. And I've got some thoughts on that game. But listen, the NFC, I think we can agree it's going to be several teams. And a lot of people believe that one of those teams is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas fans think it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit, as Jovan mentioned. I think the NFC will have a little more parity than, say, the AFC. And I believe when we look at some of these divisions over the years, and there's always that team that stinks. And then there's that team that's in last place, they go to first, and then first place, they go to last. We all know it's pretty much documented for years, back-to-back winners. The NFC, you got to go back to the Andy Reid, the early years with the Philadelphia Eagles when they were making their runs. So it's hard to win a division back-to-back, and it's hard to win divisional games. But the season is split like this. If you can go 4-2 in the division and you win, think about how the season is broken down. Parcells would always say, hey, man, 8-8. You go 5-3, 5-3. That gets you 10 wins. You should be able to get in. You should be able to get in. In the NFC, and you guys might agree with me, and you might disagree, 727-858-6650. If you look at the NFC, would you honestly say to yourself that the teams that you believe are going to be the teams at the end, they're 12, 13, 14 win teams? I'm just not seeing it. You might get 9, 10 wins out of the NFC East. Detroit can win 10, 11 games, but 12, 13? Are the Falcons winning 11? Are the Saints winning 11? Is Tampa Bay winning 10? Are the 49ers going to win 13? Maybe. Are they going to win 11 or 12? Probably. Point being is, you've got teams in the AFC that can win 11 or 12 games. I just don't see that in the NFC. I think there's a lot more parity in that conference. I think, it's a more physical conference. You've got some changing of the guard. You've got some coaches already on the hot seat. And it's going to be fascinating to see how some of these coaches call plays if they're taking over offensive play calling duties early on in the season. Right? And when you're going to start to panic. I mean, hell, we mentioned this. McCarthy, Brian Daboll, Nick Sirianni, all out of the NFC East, all, I believe, on the hot seat. All coaches, I believe, and rightfully so, that are on the hot seat. Let me get some of your tweets, some of your Facebook comments as well, and you guys chiming in. Keep them coming, 727-858-6650. Larry, big-time Cowboys fan. Q, I heard you hating on the Cowboys the other day. You're hating on them again. They've got the most talent and the most complete team in the NFC East, and I'll take Prescott over Hurts. They're easily going to win 12 games. No way. Now, I appreciate you tuning in, but no. Come on. Be objective here. Serious. Be objective. You're telling me the makeup of the Dallas Cowboys, you believe that this team is going to win 12 games? Can you get through Cleveland first to start the season? It's not like they did anything in the offseason. It's not. The Dallas Cowboys, they're going on the road against Cleveland that has a pretty good defense. Now, we know, and you know where I stand with the quarterback. I'm not a Watson fan. They're getting 2.5. The total's 40, 41. It's a tough spot for the Dallas Cowboys. Then the Dallas Cowboys have the Saints, which could be a tricky spot, and then they have the Ravens. So it's not out of the realm of possibility if the Cowboys lose on Sunday to Cleveland, they start the season 0-3, and then they get a little reprieve with the Giants and the Steelers, but then they turn around and they've got the Lions and the 49ers. This is a huge season for Dak Prescott. This is a huge season for Mike McCarthy. So you guys thinking they're going to win 12, 13 games? I'm sorry. No, absolutely not. I just don't see it. I really don't. They're not that good of a football team. 3:50, fast approaching the 4 o'clock hour on a Football Friday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Mi hermano Angel Martinez behind the glass producing show, keeping us on the air inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM studios. And of course, we are powered by the Coastal Sports Network. Got to mention one of our newest sponsors to the show, and we are very delighted. We are very happy to have them. Zen Auto Concepts, paint protection, detailing. They got a bunch of services. They've got packages available to you right online, ZenAutoConcepts.com. They got great reviews. They are located in Stuart, Florida. Our hours are very convenient. They're open pretty much every day during the week. On Saturdays, 8 to 12:30. Sunday, they're closed. You can give them a call, 772-463-8500. You can go on the website, get a free quote as well. Follow them on social media. And as I mentioned, they are located in Stuart, Florida. They got a great backstory, one of the best detailing shops in the entire state of Florida. So again, we like to welcome them on board. And like I said, if you're a lover of cars, you strive to enhance all those desirable features. They love to make things look fresh and new. They believe in the concept that if you look good, you feel good. Didn't somebody say that once? But instead of clothing, they use vehicles. Their mission is pretty simple. Customize, protect your investments, vehicles, trucks, home businesses using quality, craftsmanship, world-class products while always providing the best customer experience. And that is what it's all about. All right, quickie time out. We'll come back. We will close out hour number one. We'll open up as well, 727-858-6650. The Russ Wilson fan club. They are chiming in as well. We'll read off some of those comments, my thoughts on the NFC. AFC is stacked. It is absolutely heavy. And also, who are you playing this Sunday? Who are you guys playing this Sunday? Give me some of your picks. Give me some of your thoughts as well. Chime in. Let your voice be heard. 727-858-6650. We'll take you up to 5 on a Friday.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, as we are approaching 4 o'clock hour, it'll be brought to you by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Nothing like waking up in the morning to a delicious cup of Joe to get your day started. Cup number 13 for myself. Look, I know the summers, we get a couple good days here and there. Fall's right around the corner. Good iced coffee, cold brew. Thanks to our new coffee sponsor, Fresh Roasted Coffee. You can enjoy delicious assortment of your flavors, Fresh Roasted Coffee, if, by the way, you check out your first order. And that'll be part of our hour number 2 gambling segment, our BYP Back Your Play segment. You check the link. I'll put them in the show notes afterwards. And if you click on it and use the promo code BYP20, you get 20% off your first purchase. All right, let's see what the people have to say out there. 727-858-6650. Let them rip as we are fast approaching 4:00. Who you guys playing this week? Your thoughts on the games? Got a lot of Ravens, Chiefs comments as well. Russ Wilson comments. That's always a fun one. Many times in putting a unit on the cards to surprise the Bills. What say you? Well, that is one of the games that I am highlighting in my picks segment. That will do around 4:45. Yes, I believe the Bills are a playoff team, but I also believe that the Cards can be sneaky good this year. I really do. You look at the coordinator, you look at the head coach, you look at the quarterback, finally engaged, and look at some of the weapons that they have, right? I mean, they go out and they draft Marvin Harrison. They also realize that if they really want to compete in the NFC West, and I think they will be, they decide we got to be able to get to the quarterback. So they got the kid Robinson, the edge rusher from Missouri. They got the cornerback from Rutgers, the kid in the second round. They added a ton of depth. They made a couple moves. I think Kyler Murray is poised for a big season. Now, obviously, you think about their wide receiver depth. Does it take a little bit of a hit? Zay Jones suspended first 5 games of the season, violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. Yeah, I mean, look, that is a loss. That is a guy that they brought in from Jacksonville, spent the last 2 seasons in Jacksonville, trying to right the ship in his career. But they got Wilson, they got Harrison Jr. They can run the friggin' football with Connor. They got the other kid, the wide receiver. They got McBride, the tight end. So yes, I think that is a game to watch because the Buffalo Bills, there's something fundamentally broken about the Bills. I can't put my finger on it, but I look at this Buffalo Bills team and I know everyone believes the window of opportunity is closing. Everyone believes that. And I'm one of those pundits. I believe the window for the Bills, listen, the Diggs loss is huge. I think Josh Allen is an incredibly talented and gifted quarterback. Now, if you look at the game, within the game, 6.5 is a lot of points. And that total is 47.5. That is also one of the highest totals this weekend. It's a big game for Arizona. You go on the road and you beat Buffalo to start the season because the Arizona Cardinals did not get a break with the schedule. They didn't. If you guys pull up win totals coming out of the NFC West, and everyone wants to, again, jump on the 49ers. A lot of people think that the Cardinals are going to finish last. I'm not one of them. I think the Cardinals are going to surprise some people. If you're thinking about, if you're trying to get a team that's going to be profitable, that will score, I think the Cardinals are one of those teams. Now, listen, their projected win total is 6.9. So their floor is 4.6. Their ceiling is 8.5. So what is that telling you? Right? The truth lies somewhere in between for the Arizona Cardinals. Do you think this team can win 8 games? 8's not going to get you in the playoffs, but you'll cash the ticket. And the reason I say it is because if you look at their schedule, they open against Buffalo. Then they have the Rams. Then they have the Lions. That is murderer's friggin' row to start the season. If they can somehow pick up at least a win, then they've got the Commanders. Now you're sitting at 2-3. But then they've got the 49ers, the Packers, the Chargers, the Dolphins. Man, that is brutal. So you basically have 3 wins right there. Second half of the season, can they beat the Bears? Yes. Can they beat Seattle? I think so. Can they beat the Vikings? Yes. Can they beat Seattle again? Yes. Now that gets you 7. Now you got 3 shots to get the 8th win. Panthers, Rams, 49ers. They should be able, if they're in contention, a wild card spot, beat the Panthers. I don't see them beating the Rams and 49ers. That gets you to 9. And that's kind of where I think this team is. I do. I don't like Seattle. I just don't like Seattle. The Rams, the way the odds makers are making it sound when it comes to the NFC West, they believe the 49ers are clear cut by far the best team in that division. We can all agree. Okay. Their win total is right around 11. Their ceiling is 13. They're not winning 13 games. They're going to win 10, 11, 12 games. I don't believe they take a step back, even though they have some injuries. The Rams, Seattle, and the Cardinals, there's really not a lot separating. Again, from a gambling, from a win total standpoint, from an odds standpoint, there's not. 6.5, 7.5, 8, 8.5. There's parity in that division. So point being, yeah, I think Arizona is getting ready to take that step. Now, they've got murderers row. They do. All right, 16 of books, 4 o'clock. Got to remind you, this is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Network. And, of course, The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. We are powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. And for all your marketing, digital branding needs, Acorn to Oak, A to Oak. Check them out online as well. If you want to check out the new Site Squirrel trial for 2 weeks, it'll get you 500 IDs. Give them send them an email at sales@A2Oak, 727-858-6650. A little college football with our guy, Nick Cosco, coming up on the other side. 16 to book, 60 to play with. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up on a Football Friday edition of The Drive with Q.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, The Game, powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, 4 o'clock. A couple minutes past the 4 o'clock hour. Really going to be anal about it as we turn our attention to a little college football, as I am still just waxing poetic about my Miami Hurricanes. We welcome in our good friend Nick Cosco, and does a great job. I mean, I was about to give you some really nice props, man. I mean, you called a couple games, backed by popular demand. The people have spoken. They wanted Cosco to come back on, and for those that don't know, Nick and myself, we do our Nick's picks. We'll do a couple games that he likes, but he's doing a great job with On 3 Sports, play-by-play for RU Wrestling, Cal Live Sports as well. He's got high school football tonight in our backyard, so we got him for a couple moments. Give him a follow at Nick Cosco 59. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Rich. It's Friday night, so high school football, that's the mode I'm in, but also it's a weird NFL kickoff tonight. My birds are kicking off in Sao Paulo, so that'll be very interesting tonight. So as soon as the game's done tonight, I'll be racing back home to catch kickoff against the lovely Green Bay Packers.
Well, I mean, the game might be over by the third quarter, so
it very well could be, yes. And I'm sure Hurts will be pulled, and 49-0 lead for the Philly, and all that good stuff.
All right, let's rip through some of these games. And again, Nick's appearance from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. All right, so I hate this type of weekend, right? Because these lines are just absolutely friggin' absurd. They're really absurd. So we got a couple games we want to, they're, I mean, you're talking 28, 29, 30 points, 35, in some cases 46.
Rich, not to go on a tangent, but I mean, I'm excited for college football to come back as much as anybody. And that was last week when it's like, it's the first week. And it's different from the NFL, because the NFL, you're going to get competitive games every week. You're going to get these upsets. You're going to get surprises.
Correct.
College football, you don't only get two. I mean, yes, you do get that in the first 2 weeks. I don't count week 0, but week 1, week 2, we have these full slates. I mean, unless you get these non-conference matchups, like, I'm sure we're going to talk about Texas and Michigan in a second, but other than that, it's like you get 69-0. You get Ole Miss beating up Furman. You got Tennessee beating up Chattanooga. My Rutgers Scarlet Knights are beating the snot out of Howard. I mean, it's nice to have it come back, but like, once we get to mid
30 seconds.
September,
30 seconds for the right. Took 30 seconds for the friggin' Rutgers comment. My goodness. All right, good segue. Texas and Michigan, battle of top 10. Number 3, Texas. Number 10, Michigan. Right now, it's kind of sat. The line is just sizzling right at Texas lane 7. Oh, by the way, going on the road. And for you youngsters out there, 1994. Colorado, Michigan, Cordell Stewart / uncorking a 70-yarder Westbrook. That was the anniversary just the other day. I don't believe we're going to see that on Saturday. But, I mean, listen, Michigan took care of Fresno State. Okay. Hey, congratulations. Welcome to the party. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Texas put up 52 against poor Colorado State. I think the line was 56 because we had a couple people asking if they were going to cover.
I think, Rich, I want to say it was like in the high 30s, low 40s. And I think we had somebody last week say like, does Colorado
100% correct?
Yeah. And then of course, they shut him out in Austin. As far as this game's concerned, the line is weird, but Texas is a touchdown favorite going into Ann Arbor. And if you told me that last year, say this game was played last year, and you told me that, I'd say I'm hammering Michigan. There's no effing way I'm going to pick Texas on the road in Ann Arbor last year. And again, that's last year. This year. Texas, much better team than Michigan this year, at least on paper. Michigan, not that they're not good. That defense is loaded. Guys like Mason Graham up front, Will Johnson in the back. But and then the offense, again, great offensive line. Donovan Edwards running the football. The quarterback position is still the biggest question mark. Davis Warren, former walk-on, he's a great story though. This is the guy that was a walk-on, beat leukemia, got the starting job this year. Totally awesome story. But he beat Alex Orji, which everyone thought that he was going to be the starter this year. Now, does that quarterback package work where Warren's a starter, they use Orji in packages? I mean, does that continue? Is that going to be successful this year? But you go from a guy in J.J. McCarthy who was a starter for 2 years and had playing time as a freshman. So that guy's a top 10 pick. These guys are not top 10 picks. Clearly, Texas has the advantage at quarterback with Quinn Ewers. And again, we saw last week how this, if it gets ugly, Arch Manning's coming in to do mop-up duty.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen because Michigan's defense is too good. And again, this is in Ann Arbor, so I'm not expecting Texas to just roll over them. But I get that 7-point line. I almost want to take Texas and say, yeah, they're going to control this game. They're going to win this game by 10, 12 points in the end. Maybe a late score where it's very close, but then they have a game-clinching drive with either Ewers throws a touchdown pass or maybe Jadon Blue or one of the other running backs this year punches one in late and they just seal the game. So I do like Texas in the game to go on the road and get the win, but again, it's so hard to count out Michigan because they were kind of counted out a little bit last year until they just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And everyone's going to say, well, the Fresno State game last week, yeah, it was a win. They controlled it, but it was a little bit ugly. Offense up and down. Defense, it was suffocating, but offense up and down. So I feel like people are getting away from Michigan this week, and they're going to say, well, that's why we're going to hammer Texas. So could this line move tomorrow to about 7.5? If so many people are taking Texas, maybe. So I'm leaning Texas, but it's tough for me to even place a solid bet on this game.
No, listen, everything you're saying, I agree 100%. It's probably one of my look but don't touch games. Next game I'm interested in because I think it'll be high scoring, and the total kind of lean towards that 16.5. Tennessee against North Carolina State. You got the 14th ranked Vols. You got the Wolfpack ranked 24, the Dukes Mayo Classic. Tennessee 9.5. It'll probably sit right there, 9.5, 10. That's still a lot of points. I mean, think about this. North Carolina State struggled against Western Carolina, right? That's an FCS squad.
Bad game, yep.
And listen, they had to come back in the fourth quarter. They were down 21-17. So their offense struggled minorly. Then again, you look at Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee is a kind of a team where they're almost hit and miss. They're somewhat of an enigma. Now you got two teams open up the season against SEC opponents. They enter week 2 with much different vibes. They are two teams that are college football playoff hopefuls. They're ranked in the top 25. They'll meet in Charlotte. So I think this is an early season showdown between the SEC and the ACC. I am not confident in the line. I'm not confident in Tennessee, but I do believe this will be a higher scoring game. And I'm fine if this ends, 35, 28, 35, 30. I think there's going to be points. The 16.5 scares me a little bit.
I'm actually surprised you're not as high on Tennessee as a lot of people are. I think they're getting a little bit more buzz this year because, again, they have Nico at quarterback, and I'm going to butcher his last names. I'm still trying to practice it. Ima Laiava.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that down, of course. But
well, wait, come on, man. They played Chattanooga, right? I mean,
I understand that, but this kid was the real deal coming in, and he's one of those guys that it's almost like he was worth the price of his NIL tag when he came in. This is what they've been waiting for, because if you look at what Josh Heupel's done at Tennessee, again, they had Hendon Hooker was a dynamic quarterback in his offense. Tennessee was great. This Tennessee team was actually pretty good. It could score a lot with, again, I know everyone likes to rag on Joe Milton, but Joe Milton was his quarterback last year, and they were still pretty successful. Nico's the difference maker here. And I know it was Chattanooga, and they put up 69 against a team that they're not going to put up 69 this week, but I'm really high on Nico. I'm really high on what Tennessee can do. I know they're going on the road here. I like NC State's quarterback, Grayson McCall, because he was great at Coastal Carolina. Now he's playing Power 5 football finally. But the over, I probably would take that at 16.5. I think Tennessee's going to score a lot of points. I'm talking like 35, 40 points in this game. I would take the over in this one. And again, that line on the game is just like the Texas-Michigan game. It's that look, don't touch mentality, because they're over a touchdown favorite on the road. And you know how much I hate road favorites. Yep. You and I have been talking about this stuff for so long at this point. I unless it's a slam dunk in my mind, I hate taking the road favorites. But I would lean Tennessee in terms of probably winning this game outright. Of course, I don't know about covering that 9.5. They could if they're putting up 42+ points, but I like them on the road, but I think I would definitely take the over here at the very least. I think Nico is going to lead that Volunteer offense. They're going to put up, again, I think 42, 45 points. So that's my play for this one.
Let me ask you this real quick, and then we'll move on. First of all, both teams love to throw football, so maybe it elevates the running game a little bit. I don't know, but you look at Tennessee. Are you high on them to the point where you believe they can go undefeated, or they can get to what, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 before they have that showdown against Alabama?
I mean, you're looking ahead at their schedule. They got Kent State. They're at Oklahoma. That's going to be the big one, just because that's your new SEC opponent, and it's on the road in Norman. So I mean, they're playing. I mean, they are playing. They're not really challenged. I mean, I know this one is not quite at NC State coming up. It's the Duke's Mayo Classic. So I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves, this is a neutral site game, I believe, but it's still closer at NC State. But they're home against Kent State. You would think they win that. They're at Oklahoma. And again, that's going to be the big test. I think they can go into Arkansas in Fayetteville 2 weeks after that and go beat them before they take on Florida at home. Now, that's a rivalry game. So if this Tennessee team is as good as advertised, I do think they're going to be undefeated going into that Alabama game. Now, that Alabama game, people are like, well, maybe this is the year Alabama has to go ups and downs. Maybe they're 9-3, 10-2 under Kalen DeBoer. That's going to be a great game. That'll be an absolutely great game. Looking forward to that one. But Tennessee, to me, because of their quarterback, if Nico keeps playing at that level the way he showed in week one, and the buzz he's been getting from camp and how he's developed along from last year to this year, and this is a guy who could be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and maybe take this team to 10 wins. And maybe we're talking about an at-large team for the playoff. I think Tennessee could be that good, yes.
Mel on Facebook chimes in. Q, how come Nick's a little quiet? Nothing coming out of his mouth from Miami last week, and you hitting the over. Ooh.
I mean, Rich, I'm a Florida guy. I didn't have too much confidence in that game last week. Now DJ Lagway, the true freshman, is going to start this week, so maybe that ends up saving Billy Napier's job at this point. But oh man, Florida.
There's no line. There's no line for that A&M game, by the way. Miami and A&M. There's no line I see.
Really? I
don't see a line yet.
Sure? Really? Yeah, I don't see. I mean, it is Florida A&M, so I think they want to, they want to say Florida A&M the embarrassment of going into the U. Unfortunately,
hold on a second. There's a freaking line on Oregon and Boise State, the game that we're going to do.
Yeah, Boise State's a legit Group of 5 team. Florida A&M is, that's who Deion
Actually,
Jackson.
Pardon me, I stand corrected. What I wanted to say was there was a line on what was the other game that was I saw. I had in my notes it was 40-something. Oh, Nichols and LSU. Thank you. I mean, that's 48 points.
I can't. Hey, look, I'm not a bookmaker. I can't control this. I don't work for Vegas. I don't work for ESPN Bet. Come on, man.
And by the way, you don't want to because they're friggin' talking about games they don't even friggin' post.
I did hear about that, so I'm not, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but I did.
I'll get into the weeds. You don't have to. I'll keep you to the side. That's just crap. That's absolutely BS. You don't start pushing and pointing out friggin' games and selling your touting games and predictions for friggin' games you don't even have on the app. That's not even on the board. That's just bullshit. I'm sorry. That's no. As our friend,
I'm with you.
Listen, as our friend Doggy would say, that is a very, very bad job.
That's poorly produced right there.
That is poorly produced. Boise State and quack, quack, quack. Oregon's laying 20 in this one. The total is 60.5.
Oh man, I think I got to take Boise State here for the points. They're not going to beat Oregon. I think Oregon is in that bounce back mode where like you saw them last week. They needed an extra effort from Dylan Gabriel and the starters to beat Idaho by 10 points last week. So they struggled last week, and this is a team that had national title aspirations. It's like, okay, this is the team that could beat Ohio State in the Big Ten. They're going to be a 2 seed. We're talking like at least getting to the semifinals this year in the playoffs. Oregon is an excellent football team. They have a stout defense. The offense is loaded. I mean, it will come together, so people in Eugene don't have to panic. But Boise State, I can't believe they're a 20-point favorite over Boise State's one of those popular picks along with Appalachian State. And I believe Memphis is the other hot commodity right now of the group of 5 to make the college football playoff as that group of 5 representative. I like Boise State in this at plus 20. I can't imagine. I know they're going to Eugene. It's on the road. And again, as I mentioned, the revenge factor, or I should say that bounce back factor for Oregon. To me, Boise State, that's the play here. They're not going to win, but I could see him making this a 38-24 type of ball game, 38-21, which would cover that plus 20. So I do like the Broncos here, but again, Oregon is going to. It's a little scary because I think Oregon could pile it on at some point, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'll take Boise State plus 20.
And then lastly, the Battle of Iowa was Iowa State against Iowa, who's ranked, and they put up 40 against Illinois State.
They have an offense.
They fought well. Funny you say that because again, if you look at the total in that game, it's absolutely embarrassing. It's
still 35.5.
6.5.
I mean, what does that say about me? Iowa puts up 40 last week, and the total in this game is still only 35.5. So what's that say about Iowa's improved offense, and what does that say about Iowa State? And I know Iowa State won last week, but I mean, the Cy-Hawk game is just going to be college football at its drunkest, as we like to call these early season games, where it's just you're gonna have an interception here, a fumble here. You're gonna have some wacky play. You're gonna have lots of punts, and this is Big 10 versus Big 12 here, Rich. But I mean, I'm stunned that the total is only 35.5.
Low.
Even after last week's performance from Iowa, I figured let's get that at least into the 40s, But
I'll take it. I'll play the over. I'll take it.
I'll play the over. I mean, I do want to try. I kind of want to trust Cade McNamara because don't forget, this guy was actually a good quarterback at Michigan until, JJ McCarthy came along and said, not today. I'm going to take your job now the next year when we're trying to get back to the playoff. But Iowa State, you probably have to have concerns with them, at least in terms of their offense. And this is not North Dakota State. This is North Dakota. They put up 21 points last week in that 21-3 win. Iowa, is always going to have an elite defense. And I think it was through the first half last week, they were like, wow, the Iowa offense, they fire Kirk's son, and they still don't improve the offense. It's like, can they rehire Brian Ferentz here to improve that offense? But hey, they put up 40 last week. I'll give him credit. I like Cade McNamara. I want to trust him because I've seen what he can do as a game manager type, and which ultimately leads your offense to efficiency and more points. Was that Michigan team when he was the starter? They did score points. They were an efficient machine that year, but they did score points. So I'll take the over, and Iowa -3. I'll take Iowa. They're at home. It's a Cy-Hawk game. I know it's a rivalry game. It could go either way, but I actually in this one I will take Iowa -3, and I will take the over in this one.
Yeah, some bettors from last season are probably wet.
Little wary of this one, just a little bit.
12 punts. Neither team crossed 300 yards of offense. Iowa State had a chance to tie the game late.
Don't get me wrong. This game could get very ugly. I mean, I don't know the weather report out there in Iowa City tomorrow, but if it's raining, if it's cloudy and just gets muddy, this game could be so ugly. It'll be great.
Well, six of the matchups been decided by 10 or fewer points over that time. Half of them decided by 3. or fewer points. All right, I'll give you 30 seconds. I'm not going to even let you wax poetic on the friggin' Rutgers squad. I'll let you.
I mean, they're playing Akron this week. I mean, as long as they stick to the
and he
script of
still
last week,
finds a way to get it in.
I mean, come on.
I was going to give you 30 seconds on the Eagles and Green Bay tonight, man.
This is a college segment. You threw me for a loop right there. I got my Rutgers fill in.
We know everyone knows you're a diehard Eagles fan, so I mean,
of course. Well, I got my Rutgers fill in, and I will say, if Rutgers actually gets upset by Akron, then you might as well just call the season over at this point. They're not going to Virginia Tech next week and winning, but I would say, this Rutgers team, man, pretty good. Anyway, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, relationship repaired, no
He's
relationship.
Like a child. You tell him, don't touch the stove, and what does he do?
I still am. Well, you have to be a little adventurous. Again, it's a Friday night NFL game. I'm not sure if I like this yet, but anyway, they're in Brazil, which I don't like, but whatever. The Eagles miss out on a home game. As a fan, I would rather see that game in Philadelphia, but I digress. They should win tonight, but this is why they play the game. You can't play these games on paper. I would think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense at least should be improved. The big loss is Jason Kelce. We all know that. Cam Jurgens steps in at center. I like him a lot. Liked him at Nebraska. The offensive line cohesion, I'm not worried about. It's a matter of you get that extra push. Are they going to gel right away, or is it going to take a couple games? I think Hurts is ultimately going to be fine. Kellen Moore's offense is probably going to be more tailored to him. I think Brian Johnson tried to dumb things down a little bit too much, for lack of a better term. And you got Saquon Barkley. A healthy Saquon Barkley, you can really balance it out. Hurts and Barkley should be a lot of fun. Of course, they have the best receiver duo in the NFL. And then it's up to that defense, Q. We know this. Can those young bucks in the middle defensive line step up, i.e. Jordan Davis? Jalen Carter was great last year till the trail end of the year. Jordan Davis, he's up and down. Linebackers are the big question. Devin White's inactive, so I guess it's going to be Zach Ball's going to be in the middle there. I'm interested to see if Jeremiah Trotter Jr. gets a lot of playing time. Again, I loved him at college, but he was a third, fourth-round pick for a reason. Secondary, that's obviously the biggest question. Quinyon Mitchell, if he's for real, Rich, I would say that Eagles secondary is going to be really good.
They were saying Trotter, though, he's got very good football instincts.
Oh, of course. Well, then again, from the bloodline he does. I've always liked Trotter. I think his biggest
maybe makes up for lack of the skill, right?
I think it's the speed. Yeah. I think his speed, like the sideline speed was the one. I think that was his detriment, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a guy who's he's basically a guy that is going to be see ball, get ball, essentially. That's the type of linebacker he plays. That's what his father did in Philadelphia for a long time. I like him a lot, and I think the biggest key on defense is the middle of the defensive line. Get that pass rush with the young bucks. You have no more Fletcher Cox. Obviously, Graham's back on the edge. Sweat's back there, too. I want to see how Bryce Huff plays as well. But the biggest thing is that secondary. If Quinyon Mitchell's the real deal, and now Cooper DeJean aside, and I like him a lot, too. He's a very versatile athlete. But if Quinyon Mitchell's the real deal, opposite Darius Slay, those corners are going to be quite a handful for opposing receivers this year. But it's a big if, and you're relying a lot on a rookie, so I will give him that.
I mean, that's as long as 30 seconds. Give the kid an inch, he takes a mile. I mean, that doesn't really leave you time to promote high school football. But you know what? Because I'm that guy.
Oh, because you're so generous. I know how generous you are. Yep. All right, so it's 4:23 local time right now. I got a game at 6 p.m. Mainland Regional High School taking on Hamilton. Cape Atlantic Live on YouTube, 6 p.m. for the kickoff. Week 1, 1-0 Mainland, 0-1 Hamilton. So I'll be heading out to Linwood in a second.
One thing we know Nick doesn't need is a cup of fresh roasted.
No, I just had a cup of coffee before I came on here, so I was all jazzed up. I need my tea now. I'm talking a mile a minute with you, so I'm gonna need more green tea before I get on the air in another hour and a half.
I mean, I got people texting me. They love Costco. They're like, slow down.
I'm amped, man. It's football's back. I'm amped. Hey, we're a week in. We got the preseason jitters out. I mean, it's time to roll here. Come on. I just hope you survive for the rest of your show at this point.
I mean, who are you two? I'm good. Don't worry about me. All right, brother. I always appreciate you, and I know you'll be coming on with your pick of games throughout the season. So appreciate you. Have fun tonight. We'll be tuning in as always.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Rich.
All right, there you have it. Costco. I give him 30 seconds. The kid takes 20 friggin' minutes. My God. 424. 424. Hey, got to remind you, Again, even though the kids are back to school, you got all the high schools getting ready. Sports is gearing up. We know in Jersey and Delaware and Florida, high school football, you got soccer, you got everything going on. You need some uniforms, some tees, some hats, some cleats, some shirts. Swinging to my good friends over at Play It Again Sports. If you're in Jersey, obviously they have Florida locations, but for the Jersey audience, Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clements Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey, open 7 days a week. Very convenient store hours. You can trade in your used sports equipment and more. Visit them online. PlayItAgainSports.com. You can put in the location Deptford. Whew, man, I'll tell you, I should be able to get Costco fresh roasted coffee. I should be able to get that as a paid sponsor for him.
You're not kidding. He was just going on and on and on. You almost feel like you have to take, you take the old, reel to reel, and you would slow it down a little bit so you can hear
do it with him.
Yeah, you got to do it at Costco. But he's amped up. You can tell. I would imagine the football game tonight. He's going to tell the play before the play even happens.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. By the way, getting some really good eyeballs from Florida. You guys chiming in from Tampa, Miami, Orlando, hitting me up on Facebook. I'll give you some more of the plays and thoughts on Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami. What's your overall thought, initial thought tonight, Green Bay and the Eagles?
So as I mentioned it earlier, even on my own show, I am not super comfortable with the Eagles actually taking the win. I'm still going to stand behind my Eagles because I'm faithful to my birds, but I just have a funny feeling because of what we didn't see during training camp. And I don't care who says what, that they think that Nick and Jalen are on the same sheet of music. To me, Green Bay, for whatever odd reason, is going to be able to take this game tonight. I don't know why. I've been feeling it since it's been announced. I haven't changed my mind.
You have zero confidence in this team right now.
None, until they prove me wrong.
I mean, it's not to belabor the point, but it is the first game of the season.
It is, and that's why I'm after this game.
So.
Right. Then I will vary my opinion come Monday. But for right now, because of listen, I know people will say that's almost like having a Super Bowl hangover. What happened last season? And I have not seen anything any different so far that shows me that last
year. You cannot let that cannot let that go. Right. You're still harping on it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What happens, Rich, more than anybody, with you being up there in the tri-state area. Just take a crazy gander and say, if you already know how the phone's going to light up everywhere, but come Monday, if this team flops,
but that's it. Okay, you're saying flops, but if they lose on a last-second field goal and Hurts is 20 of 25 for 288 and 3 touchdowns, and maybe there's a missed tackle or a fluky play like last night, you have to. I understand what you're saying, and I get it. It's overreaction. It'll happen with the Jets and the Giants and the 49ers and the Cowboys, and if Kansas City would have lost, it's going to happen with Miami. It'll happen with the friggin' Philadelphia Eagles. I get it, but it's absurd. It's absurd to think that, again, if they lose this game, then it's going to derail the whole season. Now, I'll go out on a limb with confidence and say my friggin' Giants have to win at home and get a feel-good win against a bad Minnesota team to actually be relevant for a couple weeks. I'm not necessarily thinking that's the same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles. If they go out and lose tonight 28-6 and Hurts plays horrible and the offense looks like slop, people are going to attribute to, well, you had to go out and play in Brazil. Or they're going to sit there and say, like you've been saying, well, you didn't play your starters in the preseason. I agree. But I'm not going to sit here with 1 week of the friggin' NFL season and go panic mode over this team.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm going into panic mode. Don't get me wrong either, as I'm going to put Gas Pump Guy's text up here. But the same way, I'm not going into panic mode. What I'm saying is that you're right. If they lose by 3 because of whatever, Green Bay decided to march down the field, they had 36 seconds left, they 2 deep passes, field goal, boom, they win it. I get it. I'm all for it. Green Bay did what they actually did in order to win the game. But I'm saying if we're starting to see the same nonsense, even in the first half, what we saw.
My God,
tough.
You're worse than I am.
I don't care. You asking me for my opinion?
No,
I'm giving
but
it to you.
hey, listen, I love it, but I think it's absolutely. I think you need a fresh roasted coffee and calm down. I think that's absolutely ludicrous that you're going to sit here, and I get it. It is a fan reaction. It's human behavior. People are gonna. That's why I don't even go on social during these freaking games because of these jerk offs. I don't 3 and out. Here we go. It's a long season. I think your argument sticks because a little bit of it sticks because you can revert back to the fact that you're a big believer in playing the majority of the starters in the preseason.
Correct.
Okay. I will say this. This is just my opinion and from my experience. And I'm not saying I know more than you, and I'm not saying you know more than me. I believe weeks, the NFL seasons are different, right? Season to season to season.
Right.
Do I believe a team can have a hangover? Yes. Like our guy, GPG says, on when Angel Eagles need to prove the quarterback coach are on the same page and not at each other's throats. I believe there is a disconnect between the head coach and the quarterback. I agree with you. I also believe there's a reason they brought in the coordinators that they did because they have NFL head coaching experience. I agree with you there. I also will agree with you, thirdly, on a Friday, that the head coach is on the hot seat. But where I have to push back is say if they lose tonight and if it's 25-6, the season is lost. It's panic mode. I can't do it. I can't. And that's probably it. You're still pissed off because, again, A, you had an issue with your email and you got kicked off Facebook. So you're probably still fired off.
No, it's not an issue with my email. The issue was because, and as far as getting kicked off, how in the world on God's green earth, something that you own, a website, a company, and a company's trying to tell you that you don't own your own stuff? Come on, man.
Well,
Seriously? I mean, listen, if I was a bot, I can easily hide behind a freaking computer all day long. Oh, look, I don't like this one. Oh, get rid of it. I like this one. Put it back. It's ridiculous. So for them to turn around and say like, oh, well, we had to scrub your account. For what? I can understand if I made terroristic threats or anything else like that. Sure, whatever. And I still stand by what I said earlier in my freaking broadcast because my thing is you want people to believe in you and your freaking platform. And then people have the nerve, they want to say that, oh, X freaking cuts you off. X does this. No, Elon allows you to do whatever you want to do. But the other ones, they like to freaking cut you off because if you don't meet whatever their quote unquote community standards are, meaning that you don't have a voice, but hold on, but if you have a certain look and you put either less on and you freaking shake things around, guess what? They won't freaking profile you or anything else. So it's a double standard. And I'm tired of people just going back and saying like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. You're looking too much into it. No, let people's voices continue to be voiced. That's why we have opinions. This is why we get along with each other. Stop hiding behind freaking phones. Because guess what? You have the right to say whatever you want to. That's it. Sign freedom. Go on.
What season is it? Wedding season. For some reason, when I posted the CSN stuff the other day on my feed, I got flagged.
Go figure.
And I'm like, wow, it was a pretty good show. Maybe they were just jealous. I don't know. 727-858-6650. Vinny chimes in, talking a little Cardinals. Oh, wanted me to preview CU and Nebraska. No. You know why they want me to preview that game? So I can give a little shine to Coach Prime. I refuse to do it, Vince. No, what time is that game, by the way? That's
tonight.
Is that game tonight?
The Eagles?
No.
Oh. Hey, listen, I don't know. I'm throwing up there that Fuji says go Birds.
Oh my God. Colorado and Nebraska. That's not a Friday night game.
No, I thought it was Saturday.
No, that's a Saturday game. No, I'm literally asking. I should know. I believe it's a Saturday.
I'm almost certain it's Saturday. It's not Friday night. Because isn't it?
It is Saturday. It is Saturday.
Okay. That's what I thought, because I thought the whole thing, people were talking about,
No. That me. It was my fault. Holy shit. But reel it in back there. Yeah, I mean, listen, you go back to what was it, last year, right? They spotted them a 13-0 lead. I think they turned the ball over 3 out of 6 times. Nebraska's laying 7 in this game. That game's going to be on NBC. It'll be a live stream on Fubo. It's not Fubo. For some reason, I kept saying Fubo.
No, it's not. That's the product by.
Right. I kept saying Fubu, and it's Fubo. Thank you, Vince, for clarifying that. 727-858-6650. I'll give you my thoughts on that game when we do our pick segment as well. All right, 4:35. Lloyd Vance is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour, but what I want to do on the other side is, because we'll have Lloyd at 5 and we'll kind of run through, I want to go through some of my season predictions. And then after Lloyd's segment, I'll close with the Q's picks from our good friends over at Played Again Sports. But with that being said, 4:35, man, the time absolutely.
It's flying.
Yeah.
It really is.
Do you sit there sometimes and when you look at things, do you go like this? Do you kind of pull them away from your eyes? Is that a sign of old age? Does anyone else do that?
Getting peepers?
Well, I just kind of I had a glance and I'm like, all right, we got some good numbers on social today. And then I just wanted to, make sure I was getting ready to read my live reads properly. And
no, it's you're right though, to a certain extent, because for me, for example, I've been wearing glasses and contacts since I want to say 18 years, but this is how geniuses work, because I went, and I'm not even going to say the company's name. I'm not, because it's something
you are just full of piss and vinegar.
No, this isn't anything bad. It's not anything bad. It's something that they should actually picked up on, but they made the judgment in error. So what ended up happening was I went for my vision test, got my contacts, got my glasses. I had them, do everything for me. And I'm thinking this isn't right, because I end up getting my new contacts, my new glasses. I'm like, I still can't read correctly. And throughout the show here, I don't have my contacts or glasses on. Why? Because I actually see, because I have one eye is farsighted, one eye is nearsighted. So if I put on my glasses, everything will be blurry because they didn't do it right. So when I went back and I asked them the question, they said, "Oh, we didn't know you wanted your full prescription." No, I just wanted half the prescription. I only wanted one eye to work, not the other one in unison. So they have yet still to make things right and actually put the correct vision on there. So when I wear my contacts or don't feel like wearing my contacts to put on my glasses, I can actually drive with said glasses and read with said glasses. But no, what do I have to do? I have to do the old man thing. So when I'm out somewhere with my lovely wife and it's time to bring the check, what do I have to do? Oh, let me break out the peepers, because apparently the contacts that you guys gave me is not good enough. So now I have to look like the old guy. And then to add on top of it, I just put it up here like the rest of the older folks so they can go, "Oh, you can't see, sir? No, let me get my peepers out." So yeah, that's it. Anyways.
Listen, we need you to drive safely, but in the event the car get nicked or scratched, you got to take it over to my good friends over at Zen Auto Concepts. Drive with confidence knowing your car looks good as it runs. Trust us. Give your car the care it deserves and book your detailing today. Zen Auto Concepts in Stuart, Florida. Check them out online. They do a great job of car detailing. All right, so we got 4:40. We got a lot of time to play with. You guys keep chiming in. 727-858-6650. Give me some of your best plays too. I want to hear this weekend from the guys out there. When we come back, I will give you my divisional winners, playoff winners, and also my Super Bowl predictions. Lloyd's going to join us at 5. We'll break down the games. I'll do Q's picks around 5:25, and then we'll get out of here on this Friday. But I'm going to run through the gamut of what I believe will unfold in the 2024 season, and I'm sure it's going to piss off a lot of people, and that's exactly what we like to do here on a Friday edition of The Drive, right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Don't forget to download the app, SR1029thegame.com. Check us out online, part of the Coastal Sports Network. Start your week off right, Monday to Friday, Pete Shepard Show from 7 to 10, Martinez and Company with mi hermano Angel Martinez, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 12, and then myself, The Drive with Q, 3 to 5, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Get social with us as well. Follow at CSN Florida. 4:40, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Eye on Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow, awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
There it is. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to hear. All right, so playoff team, Super Bowl winner. You guys can get ready to agree, debate, or call me out. I don't have a problem with that as well. So I'll run through the gamut. We'll start with the NFC, and let's just say there's going to be a couple of shocks and surprises. We'll finish with the NFC East. So NFC South, as I mentioned, I think Tampa Bay by default wins that division. I see them with 9 wins, but I also believe the Saints, even though the quarterback is all about check down Charlie, again, a product of a bad division, I see Tampa Bay and the Saints getting in. San Francisco, I clearly believe they're going to win the East, the West, pardon me. Arizona, I know Vince is laying some shekels on them. I mentioned to you, I think they're going to be a dark horse. I know they have a rough schedule, but I think the Cardinals figure out a way to sneak in late. Then I have 2 teams coming out of the NFC North, which basically means I only have 1 team coming out of the NFC East. So the NFC North, I have Green Bay and Detroit. I think this is the year that Green Bay takes that next step. I know people look for other teams to scale back or maybe to take a step back when you have a young quarterback. Maybe people think they emerged too early last year with Jordan Love. They've got some weapons. That franchise is backing Jordan Love. And then the Detroit Lions, we know what the Lions can do. The Lions put up a ton of offense. They have a lot of weapons. And I just think ultimately this is a team that they have the makings. They play in that stadium. Jared Goff, you look at the odds for MVP. If they make a deep run, if they put up big numbers, it's going to be because of Jared Goff. So I like Detroit and Green Bay coming out north, which leaves 1 team left in the NFC playoffs. And I got news for you. The Giants are going to be a very bad football team. The Giants will not fire, their head coach during the season. But the Giants are going to have a lot of difficulty, I believe, with the offensive line still. You're banking on an injured Daniel Jones. They've got some nice weapons, but the Giants season starts with the Vikings, the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Seattle Seahawks, Cincinnati, and the Eagles. If the Giants lose against Minnesota, they will lose against Washington. They will lose against Cleveland. They will lose against Dallas, and most likely go on the road and lose against Seattle. And then they come back home for Cincinnati. You're staring at a 4 out of 5 losses, 1-4, 1-5, 2-5 start, which again, if that's the case, who knows if they put the quarterback in bubble wrap because they don't want to have to pay him with the injury settlement and whatnot with that contract with Daniel Jones, which we mentioned, I think, 2 months ago. So the Giants, they'll be lucky to win 4 or 5 games. The Dallas Cowboys take a major step back. I'm not sold on the head coach. We know the distractions with the contract and Dak. Their big move was bringing back Elliott. And I think their defense is overrated. I really do. I don't like the Cowboys. I think they're poorly constructed, that roster. It's an aging roster. You knew they had to pay players. Obviously, Parsons and Lamb, they're very good players. But I don't believe the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs. I don't. And I can hear Dallas fans right now getting on me, and that's fine. They open against Cleveland, the Saints, the Ravens, the Giants, the Steelers. If they win on Sunday and they beat the Saints and then beat the Ravens, then you have my attention. I don't see that happening. Then that leads me to the Philadelphia Eagles. And as much as I want to, and it has nothing to do with the fanism because I told you the Giants are going to stink. There's something I look at a franchise. And when I look at the Philadelphia, I look at a couple things. They have weapons. They have a solid team. They do. I'm not taking anything away from them. But I still want to know what the hell the coach really does. What does the head coach really do? And I've seen seasons implode on teams when the head coach and the quarterback have not gotten along. And I also think, to Angel's point, there will be some remnants of a carryover. Now, I don't believe we might see it tonight, but I look at this team and the San Francisco 49ers flat out broke the Philadelphia Eagles last season. They did. And for you to have that slide and then to go into the playoffs on the road and not even show up against Tampa Bay and to come back and run it back with the same head coach, I think it's going to bite them in the ass. Now, I looked at their schedule. I've memorized their schedule. Green Bay, the Falcons on the road against the Saints and the Bucks. Early opportunity there. Then the Browns and the Giants and the Bengals, Cincinnati. Then the Jacksonville Jags. Fine. They have a stretch where they have the Rams, the Ravens, the Panthers, which is a very winnable game, Steelers, Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants. I think the Philadelphia Eagles need to win at least 11 games, 10 games at max to win their division. If they don't, they're not going to make the playoffs. And that leads me to Washington. Believe it or not, I know it's crazy. It's not only about the odds. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Washington. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Jaden Daniels. And this is you got to friggin' be kidding. What are you smoking? What are you drinking on a Friday? I think Washington is going to surprise some people. And I have Washington, as crazy as this sounds, winning the NFC East. Their odds to win the Super Bowl are plus 12,000. I think the Giants and the Cowboys are that bad. And that only leaves the Philadelphia Eagles. And we've seen this team backslide before. Washington has a decent defense and they've got some offensive weapons. And this kid Daniels is going to light it up. And they have the right head coach who has a defensive-minded style. If you look at Washington, they've got Quinn, they've got Kingsbury, they got Bobby Ingram, your wide receiver coach, Bobby Johnson on the O-line. So if you look at their numbers, last year they only scored 19. Their defense was horrible, ranked 32nd out of 32nd. They gave up 30 points. They're not going to be like that this year. They're not. They're just not. And I think this kid, you look at the 8 straight losses, Rivera, Bieniemy gone. You want my not even outside the box, but bold prediction. Philadelphia Eagles do not make the playoffs. And the Washington Commanders win the division. And they win the NFC East. So that's your teams coming out of the NFC. Okay? Coming out of the NFC. And I'll do you one better. NFC Championship. And I got to pull it up right here. is going to be Green Bay San Fran versus Green Bay is my NFC championship. I have San Fran beating Green Bay. Now to the AFC. You know I'm high on Miami. I'm not high on the Jets. My other bold prediction is the New York Jets will not make the playoffs. Robert Saleh will get fired during the season. Aaron Rodgers does not play 17 games. You got the whole Reddick situation. Now there's talk that they might use Reddick as a chip to go get Adams. Whatever. The Bills will do enough to win the division. The Patriots will be a very bad football team. AFC North will have 2 teams come out. Pittsburgh already with issues with Russell Wilson. I know Lloyd had 3 coming out of the North. I don't. I have Cincinnati and Baltimore. I think last night was a hiccup. I think Cincinnati's still talented enough to compete in that division. Baltimore with their hiccup last night, but they still have weapons. They still have a perennial MVP in Lamar Jackson and a hell of a head coach. So there's 4 teams right there. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Typically, if I go on the premise that teams take a step back when they have big seasons that are unexpected, then logic would say, I think the Texans take a step back. I don't. It's because they play in a bad division. The Texans are going to win the AFC South, but the Colts are also going to make the playoffs. Now, hear me out. Anthony Richardson has only played 17 games from high school to college to the pros. If you look at the offense that they're going to run, if you look at how they tailor the offense around Anthony Richardson, and I know Downs is out. I get it. I think this kid's going to put up numbers, 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, another 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns, 300 or 400 yards rushing on the ground. Not a bad prop. If you want to take him as comeback player of the year, as crazy as it sounds, for missing a whole season and now coming in year number 2. I know they have the Texans to open up the season. I understand all that. I know it's a big test for them. I get it. But I also look at the division. And that division, Jacksonville is going to be bad this year. Tennessee is in rebuild. I think Doug Peterson, if Jacksonville goes south and they have a poor season, Doug Peterson might be out of a job. And don't sleep on the Colts. Just don't. They have a pretty good roster. They really do. Richardson, Taylor, Pittman. They don't have Downs, but they have Mitchell. They have a very good tight end. And they're going to play that base 4-3. So if the Colts turn around and they beat the Texans to start the season, they're going to open up some eyes. That leaves the AFC West, and it's Kansas City. And I know Harbaugh's with the Chargers now. I know Pierce is with the Raiders. Again, I look at this division. Chargers will be better, right? They'll be better. Harbaugh is going to be good for at least plus 2 to 3 wins. Pierce and the Raiders, the quarterback, not sexy, not sold on it. Denver, Bo Nix, he might put up some numbers, but it's a rookie quarterback. And I know what you're thinking. Well, why can you go with Washington coming out of the NFC? Because that's how bad I think the division is. So Kansas City is that 7th team. AFC Championship, Kansas City versus Miami.
Right.
Kansas City versus Miami. This is the year Miami shuts up a lot of people. I feel like Miami is going to figure out a way to put up a bunch of points this year. They might give up 35, but they're going to score 38. And now it's going to be different this year. The Miami Dolphins will host the AFC Championship, and they will beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They will dethrone the back-to-back champs. They will dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, and it'll be San Francisco versus Miami, which would be a throwback the clock replay from 1985 when the 49ers won 38-16. And I believe this will be the year, finally. Now, who do you think I have to win the Super Bowl? When I say this will be the year, finally, is it San Francisco that's been knocking on heaven's door? Or is it Tua and Miami and the Fish? Who do you think, Angel?
Detroit Lions.
Once I say it, it goes down on pen. That's it.
Detroit Lions.
No. San Fran or Miami?
Craps.
And by the way, this is the first appearance of the Duke. You will see him a lot. So when I'm overconfident, it's overflated. When I'm underconfident, I'm underflated.
Oh, so like TB12.
Correct. It's a tribute to TB12 with the Duke, the football, exactly.
All right.
So right here we go. My
Daggone it.
Super Bowl champ,
I'll go with San Fran.
Miami Dolphins.
Daggone it. That's what Gaspon guy just texted in. He said Miami. Son of a gun.
Yep, Miami Dolphins.
So, okay, since they're playing tonight, because I know Lloyd's coming on at 5 o'clock, but since they're playing tonight, is it just
Well, I'm surprised you haven't even pushed back with my Washington winning the NFC East and the Eagles missing the playoffs.
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that because
I'm already getting attacked.
No. I'm getting to that because that knife came out from the shelf out in the kitchen and made its way all the way to the studio and just hit me right in the heart when you mentioned about the Redskins winning the division. But no, is it too much of a far stretch to say if Jacksonville pulls up an upset tonight against Miami?
Oh, you mean on Sunday?
Yes.
Could be. Listen, 3.5. Miami's not going to go undefeated, but I think Miami's offense,
right?
Tua, quick strike. They got speed all over the friggin' place. And I know Beckham's banged up, but look at that roster from top to bottom. That coach is an innovator. The Miami Dolphins have to win the AFC East, and they have to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They have to. If they have to go on the road, Kansas City or Baltimore, they're not beating them.
No.
And listen, they'll get tested. They got Jacksonville and Buffalo and Seattle to start the season. But then they have the Titans, the Pats, the Colts, the Cardinals, the Bills again. They're going to win some games, man.
Are the Cardinals even relevant?
Yeah. Well, I'm getting listen, I'm getting absolutely
yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, I'm getting Dave on Facebook chimes in. Q, how the hell can you pick the Commanders to mid division with a rookie quarterback? What the frig are you smoking? Then I got Kevin chiming in. The Cardinals, really? Are you kidding me? Your credibility is shot on this Friday, Q. Listen, these are when we do these because sometimes you have to go against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy for me to give you the same predictions as everyone else. Right? It is.
Right. It is.
I just look at this and I say the NFC, there's parity. And I believe, as you do, that there's a disconnect within that Eagles franchise from top to bottom. Is it going to show out on the field? Maybe it will. Dallas is bad and the Giants are bad. I'm high on this kid Daniels. And I think Washington's been so bad for so long. 9 wins maybe gets the division. Who knows? God forbid if Prescott goes down or Hurts goes down. Their seasons are done. And I pretty much laid it out for Arizona with some of their new weapons and the coordinators, and Murray's engaged. And we saw he was a front runner for MVP a couple years ago, and then he got hurt. Now he's healthy. Green Bay and Detroit are solid picks. And then you got the NFC South, which is a bad division. So by default, you have Tampa Bay. Then, does anything really shock anyone coming out of the AFC? All right, no Jets, but Miami and Buffalo. AFC North, you're going to tell me that Cincinnati and Baltimore are not playoff teams? I don't think Cleveland is, because that quarterback is too inconsistent, and they've been banged up. I mean, even in the preseason, they had guys go down. Texans already won the South. Now you get a healthy Richardson in Indianapolis. Again, in a weak division. That leaves Kansas City in the AFC West. Denver's not better than them. The Chargers aren't better than them. And the Raiders aren't better than them. So really, the two that people are like, Arizona and Washington. And probably Indianapolis. Everything else pretty much lays out perfectly for you. And yeah, it's going to be San Francisco and it's going to be Miami. And Miami is going to win the friggin' Super Bowl. Jose chiming in right now on Facebook from the 305. Q, thank you very much. Giving love to the Dolphins. I'm not going to go as far as to say they get or win the Super Bowl, but I do like them to win the AFC East. What do you think about them at Jacksonville? I'm playing them on the money line. Well, you just asked me what I thought. Angel did, and I like them Sunday on the money line against Jacksonville. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to get friggin' crucified, right?
You know what I would actually love to do?
Yeah.
And by the way, I sent you a text to him because if I put it up on the screen, I have to kind of split up different ways. But what I would love to do, if it wasn't illegal, which obviously there's certain things you can't do, even if you crank down the volume, I would love to have the game on and then the listeners and followers on Facebook and everywhere else to have like a Hollywood Squares. And then we would take people in and out just to get the reactions of what happens tonight on the Eagles Green Bay game, just to have fun with it. But you can't, obviously we can, because we don't have the rights to be able to show the game live. Even if it was no sound whatsoever, we can't show it live. The only thing we could show is like post reactions, like the play happens and then 15 seconds later you throw it up there. But, to stay in and make sure there's no copyright infringement and stuff. But I think that would be just fun to get an actual note. Yes.
No, I think what separates what we do,
right,
is it's displaced market, right? And let's be honest, when we're getting thousands of guys or thousands of views, we're doing something right.
Right.
I mean, we're trying to give good content, have fun, and be entertaining, but it's just too many networks are doing rinse and repeat. And again, that's where we can be fans. Listen, as bad as the Giants are, I'll watch the Giants on Sunday. But I don't get aggravated anymore because I know they're not a bad team, but I have to be objective. And I think when we lay it out, or the way I've laid it out, I'm comfortable with these picks. Now, again, predictions are predictions. That's just what they are. But did anyone think Detroit was going on the road last year and beating Kansas City? Well, guess who had them in the money line? I did. And it's on BYP, so you can check the YouTube channel. Did anyone have Washington a couple years ago going on the road and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, or Tennessee on the money line beating Baltimore Ravens? No, I called those games. Go back and check my YouTube channel. I backed my play with it. So sometimes you might sit there and say, I don't know what he's thinking or what he's looking at. We're not pushing anything, man. We're just having fun with this, and we're just giving you our thoughts and opinions. I look at these week 1 games and these week 1 lines. There's a lot of lines that are with the hook, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5. I give you my thoughts on that. Everyone can sit there and tell you, well, you're not going to play a 3.5 on the road and this. Hey, man, sometimes you go with your gut, but sometimes you also have to just go back and look at the X's and O's. I mean, there's no reason, if Cincinnati is a playoff team against a bad Patriots team, they don't beat them by 10 plus points. Now you've got the Steelers on the road against Atlanta, and we don't even know who's going to be the quarterback, right? So it's like you have to put all that in perspective when you're looking at some of these games. That's all I'm saying. So yes, I am standing by my friggin' predictions for the Super Bowl. San Francisco and the 305. And the 305 and little Tua has done it again, will hold up the Lombardi Trophy. All right. What?
All right. Well, before Dr. Lloyd comes on, as he's been indoctrinated by the fans, let's just say if the Eagles, what's the word? If the wheels fall off, their doors get dented, is there someone out there that can fix it?
That's my read at 5:20.
Dang it. All right. Rewind. We'll do it again.
5 o'clock straight up. 5 o'clock straight up on a Friday edition, Football Friday edition, you jackass. I'm going to give you the layout of the drive with Q. Rich Quinones here, Angel Martinez. Lloyd Vance going to join us on the other side. Again, 5 o'clock straight up. This is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game, Coastal Sports Network. Live reads coming up on the other side.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game app, and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
Yeah, I'm getting hammered with the Brian on Facebook, Q. What the hell are you drinking in your friggin' large ass Ben McAdoo coffee cup? There's no way the Eagles are missing the playoffs. Yeah, they are. And I have testimony from from Lloyd Vance Insider, Lloyd Vance Insider Football 102.9 FM The Game. Yeah, I'm going to run through these real quick for you. All right.
Yeah, all right. Now it's my turn to pick on your picks. And
that's fine.
Right away, I got to laugh at that first one, but go ahead. Go ahead.
That's fine. Tampa, Saints, San Francisco, Arizona, Green Bay, Detroit coming out of the NFC. And the NFC East, I have the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles missing the playoffs. And I have Washington, your Commanders, your Washington Commanders winning the division. And they maybe do it with 9 wins.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
You said it too fast. All right, so
Washington, Tampa Bay, and the Saints. It's a bad division, man. What do you want from me?
You have both of them making it.
Yeah. Well, because if I have Dallas and Philly out, that only leaves me with one team, right?
Okay, so Dennis Allen.
San Francisco. Yeah. Hey, dink and dunk, right? San Fran, Arizona. Wow. I think people are sleeping on Arizona this year. And I know their schedule is brutal and they might be out by November. I'll take the bullets then. And then Green Bay and Detroit coming out of the North. Minnesota is going to stink, and I'm not high on Williams. So that leaves me one team. Dallas isn't going to be good. We talked about this. We both agree Dallas is headed towards.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking at Belichick.
Blow that up.
Exactly.
Probably.
Giants are going to be bad. And then you got the Eagles and Washington. And I believe this kid Daniels is going to win some games for them this year. And I think their offense is going to be much better. Their defense should improve on giving up 30-something odd points. You got a defensive-minded guy in Quinn. You got Kingsbury, right? So they're going to open it up a little bit and let this kid air it out. And honestly, Lloyd, the gut tells me that when everyone's so high on one team and they're like, this is the year, and Angel brought this up and he brought up a very valid point. Sometimes you have remnants of a bad season. I know the NFL is season to season, but sometimes stuff just sticks, right? You lose the Super Bowl, you don't show up, you get blown out. It carries over. All the nonsense in the offseason, and it has nothing to do with tonight, if they win or lose. If they win by 50, my opinion is not going to change. I don't like something internally going on with this team, and they should have moved away from Sirianni. And their first sign of adversity this year, and I don't know when it's going to come. Or if Hurts struggles, or he gets banged up, or he gets nicked up, or they start to bitch and complain everything about the offense or the defense in the secondary. I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe they have that bad loss against the Browns. Maybe they get upset by the Giants or Jacksonville. I don't know. But there's going to be a point of the season where the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be like a 5-4, 5-3 team, and something, quote, isn't right. And maybe they finish the season with 9 wins. It's just my opinion, man. That's it. I'm not hating on the Eagles. It has nothing. That little helmet, they suck. The Giants are going to be bad. But I told you this. I don't like the head coach. And I don't like the comments that the quarterback said and didn't say during the offseason. It has nothing to do with his skill set. I think Kelsey is a huge loss. I think the secondary is going to get exposed a little bit. I'm not 100% sold on the linebackers. I'm sold on the offense, but the defense worries me, and Sirianni scares me. And I think Sirianni is basically a dead man walking. That's my rationale for the Philadelphia Eagles missing.
Some of those points are, valid, but there's just so much talent in terms of this team. I know their offensive line is top 5, and they're not as good as Detroit's offensive line, but they have a good group there. They have Saquon coming in. The key guys, as you were saying, Jalen Hurts has got to bounce back from last season. He had some difficulty last season, forcing passes, all those interceptions, the turnovers, and then Sirianni. Is he a leader of men? He's got to pull us all together. But I think they've empowered Fangio and Kellen Moore to run their sides of the particular sides of the house. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles, if they come together. But, I still remember 2012, the Dream Team, talking to Nnamdi Asomugha and all the guys, in training camp. We have so much talent. And next thing you know, it all blew up. So it's possible, but I still think the Eagles win the NFC East because they just have too much talent.
How many games do you think the Philadelphia Eagles win?
I think they can get to 11. I really do. I think, their schedule's like the sixth easiest in the league, and you know how they are when they face teams that are kind of downtrodden. They step on their throat, and they're going to put a lot of points up. Now, that defense, there are some question marks there. Fangio's coming in. They got to buy into his plan, particularly the defensive line. You talk about losing Fletcher Cox. That's a huge loss for them in terms of that defensive line. And they need these young guys to step up, whether it's Carter, Jordan Davis. They need them to make some plays. So I definitely need to see that defense play better than they did last year, where they allowed so many points and bad quarterbacks and bad teams.
You would say the Eagles are better than Dallas, Seattle, the Giants, and Arizona, right?
I would believe so. Yes, you would probably say that. And as long as they're healthy and their quarterback's playing well, yes, they should be better than those.
Well, those are the teams that they lost to last year when they had that slide. I'm just pointing it out. They were a team that was at one point 10-1, and then they lost 42-19 to the 49ers. It's a long season, man. That's all I'm saying. So, and I got Miami and San Francisco in the Super Bowl, and as I alluded to, I like Miami. All right, let's. I know we mentioned some of these games on BYP last night. That's out on the YouTube channel. I want to get to some games that a couple guys were chiming in on. Arizona and Buffalo, my two playoff teams. Buffalo is laying 6.5. Total is 47.5. I think this Cardinals offense is going to be able to score a little bit, but I also believe this game is more about Buffalo. If we believe Buffalo is going to be legit, like if you're Arizona and you go into Buffalo and you beat them, or covered an over and play well, people are going to say, okay, Arizona's on the rise. Here we go. They might have a good season. Even though their schedule is brutal, I'm still predicting them to get to 9 wins, which should be enough to win the division. But again, does Buffalo cover the number against Arizona?
Yeah, that's 6.5. It may be a little high, and the key thing is you have an Arizona team coming east and to open the season. Both quarterbacks really have not played a lot in the preseason. Kyler Murray has not played at all. Him and Jalen Hurts sat out the whole preseason, so he may be a little bit rusty. They have to get, obviously, Harrison into the game plan early, get James Conner running the football. Buffalo's defense, they've had a lot of changes on that side of the ball. Sean McDermott's got to get them going. And the key to me, though, Q, is that offensive line of the Cardinals, which has kind of been shaky. Ed Oliver and Von Miller, if he's got anything left, these guys got to get after the quarterback. So I think Buffalo wins this one, but it may be a field goal type game. So I say they don't cover that number.
All right. Here's a game that I really like. We didn't touch on this, but the Texans and the Colts, right? You've got a situation where the Texans on the road, the Colts, Anthony Richardson. I think the Colts are going to be a playoff team. They're getting 3 at home. Here's a statement game for them. The total is 48.5. Richardson only, if you look at high school, college pros, 17 starts. Texans, C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Rylands. They shocked the world last season. They had a great run. Who do you like in this one?
They have been back and forth on this one, and I always say beware the home dog. And the Colts, as long as Richardson's healthy and he's able to run the football, make some plays, and don't forget about Jonathan Taylor. He's a big time back, and Pittman as well. So I would say probably take the 3 points and go with the Colts. Obviously, everybody's enamored with the Texans after last season. They won Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, offensively and defensively. So they're going to be in the mix here. I say probably the Texans will win the game, but you take those points with the Colts and go with them.
All right. We can spotlight tonight if you want for a moment. Green Bay and the Philadelphia Eagles. The line has sat at 2.5. Obviously, this game's in Brazil. It could be a shootout. Offenses could open up. Do you suspect that the Eagles will air it out or try to at least establish the run with Saquon early on? How do you see this one playing out?
Well, it's going to be an interesting matchup because you have Jair Alexander on the Packers side, one of the best corners, and he's going to try to match up with this explosive Eagles unit. Brown, Smith, and you talked about Goddard earlier as well as Saquon. So, but I really just have a feeling that the Packers are more prepared for this game. I feel like they're a little bit more dialed in. They've played more of their guys in preseason. And then when you talk about this matchup of all the I see Angel getting upset. I see all the playmakers, young playmakers, by the way, that Packers have in terms of receiver position. Whether it's Watson, Dobbs, Reed, these guys can spread out as well. They may not be as big names as some of the Eagles guys, but the Eagles secondary that you were just talking about, there are some question marks there. You have Rodgers, who's not playing in this game. They're talking about Avonte Maddox may play some slot, and they may be able to take advantage of that. Want to see how Josh Jacobs settles in as a running back for the Packers. I think it's going to be a back and forth game, but the turnovers were a big problem for the Eagles at the end of last season. I think there may be a key turnover in this game, and the Packers pull this one out. So I say take the Packers and at 2.5 points.
Oh, interesting. I mean, you're sitting there getting me about the Eagles, and then you turn around and,
it's a game by game, week by week analysis, my man.
Hey, who are you telling? That's what I'm just saying. All right. Yeah, I do like the Packers tonight too. All right, Giants, Minnesota. Listen, I know it's 1.5. The Giants are home. They're a home dog. If the Giants are going to make anything out of their season, you got to be able to get to Darnold. I think that's going to be the key. If they can cause a couple turnovers, their defense, maybe you get a pick six. It's an ugly affair, low-scoring game, 41.5. Giants at home.
Yeah, another home dog. And, Darnold, I just don't know if we can believe in him yet. He's going to a place where he saw all those ghosts. And if you're able to get some pressure on him, which the Giants, their defense with Burns and Lawrence, that's what they're built for, to get after the quarterback. I think that Darnold may make some mistakes in this one. I don't think the Giants are going to win a ton of games this year, but I think they're going to be able to pull this one out. It may be an ugly affair, as you were saying. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, they have to figure out a way to cover him. Giants secondary is not one of the best out there, so that's going to be interesting. But Aaron Jones, you have to watch him as well. He's going to start for the Vikings at the running back position. He finished last year very well for the Packers, but I just think somehow the home dog's going to pull this one. I'll go with the Giants and the points.
Seattle only in 6 at home. Denver, you got a rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, just like Daniels on the road. Caleb Williams at home with Chicago. But you got a Denver team, Bo Nix throwing the ball, looks the part, plays the part, acts the part. You got Sean Payton there. I don't know what to make of Seattle. They're in a tricky spot, right? Because think about it. No more Pete Carroll, going in a different direction here. You're banking on, again, Geno Smith, right? Can you put up the numbers that you were kind of putting up, not necessarily last year, because they weren't as good as 2022 when he had 30 and 11, but still, here's a good spot for Denver to at least make a case for having a season early on with a win.
Well, it's interesting, Q, because everybody says don't put any credence into the preseason, and that's where Bo Nix looks so well, getting the ball out of his hands and everything. But the thing is, the Broncos' offensive line is not one of the best. And it's going to be interesting because I think Williams and the guys up front for Seattle and their secondary may be able to confuse Nix, because let's face it, early on, these young quarterbacks are learning on the job. They're 0-10 since 2021, first-round quarterbacks in week 1. So it's going to be interesting to see if one of these young quarterbacks can break through and win a game and show that they're ready for the NFL, and it's as easy as college. So I think that Seattle will try to confuse them a little bit. They got McMahon coming over from the Ravens, and that defensive group has some playmakers. But Geno Smith, Walker, they got to play well for Seattle's offense. I think this is another field goal type game, and I'll go with Seattle late to win it.
All right, then lastly, Monday Night Football, Jets and the 49ers. And here you go, Aaron Rodgers, right? Coming back, Robert Saleh, your head coach candidate of the year. That stacked defense, San Francisco, they're a little banged up, but I still believe they're one of the best teams in the NFC.
It's going to be interesting because you have the Jets flying across the country. Aaron Rodgers is from that area. He wants to prove that he's healthy, and San Francisco, they're beat up, in particular, Christian McCaffrey has that calf injury. You're really not sure if he's going to play, not play. It may be a game-type decision. And, Williams and the rest of those guys are going to get after Purdy. So this is one I've been back and forth on, but I just think San Francisco has just too many playmakers. I think they'll figure out a way to get Brandon Ayuk involved. McCaffrey probably will play in this one, and don't forget about George Kittle. So I think that the Niners will win a very close game, but this will be like last night, an enjoyable one, and don't turn it off to the very end.
All right, there you have it, our guy, Lloyd Vance. By the way, the Duke came out early today. I didn't want to have to do it, but I was getting bombarded. There was a lot of hate mail coming in. There was a lot of shots being fired from the bow. And the Duke, because when the Duke comes out, we talk about being overflated or underflated. And I stand by my predictions. By the way, on the record, since you had it on BYP, who do you have Super Bowl?
Yeah, I have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, with the Chiefs pulling the three-peat that we have never seen. So I think the Lions last year, they were up on the Niners in that championship game, and they were a few plays away, and we know that key fourth down decision by Campbell, but I think the Lions are going to have a very big year. We talked about earlier how I think Goff could be a potential MVP candidate, and it's going to be fun to watch and to see if they can back up what they did last year. Aaron Glenn obviously has got get that defense better. They got Arnold in the draft. Hutchinson is just a game wrecker as well there with that unit. And I also really like the Lions' offensive line. So it's going to be fun this season to watch our predictions, see how they unfold. And I'm sure Angel has the tape already recorded.
Well, it's just funny how you were basically drinking the Washington Commanders juice, and then I go out there and say they're going to win the division, and right away do you have the Jets making the playoffs?
I did have the Jets making the playoffs, and I had the Commanders getting like the last spot. So last
spot. Whoa!
The Eagles are winning the division. The Eagles will win that division.
Says who?
Says history. We know it's not going to be the Dallas Cowboys because they're not have been a repeat champion since 03-04 in that division. So you think it's either going to be Washington or it's going to be the Eagles, because obviously it's not going to be the Giants.
I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to do that, right? That's how we're going to play it. That's a shot. That's not even.
Well, they're not good enough. They're not, and also, who's the best quarterback in that division? You may not be a Jalen Hurts guy, but obviously you have to.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Now what you're doing, the propaganda that you're spewing for the listening audience, I've backed Jalen Hurts. I've supported Jalen Hurts. All I said is last year, Jalen Hurts friggin' regressed. Now, we think he's the quarterback that he is. He shows and puts up the numbers that he did 2 seasons ago. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts because he got a chip on his shoulder. I don't like the fact that he keeps going back and forth or through the media, doesn't have the relationship with the coach. But what quarterback and head coach always get along? That's number one that I have to correct you and I have to push back. Number two on this Friday is that I know the Giants are going to be bad. I'm well aware of how bad the Giants are going to be bad. But the Dallas Cowboys are going to be bad too. So again, that just leaves Washington. Now, I pulled up something. Hold on. I pulled up something. Yeah. I'm getting a little fired up. I pulled up something. The years that Washington, if you remember, that they won the division, they were ridiculous dogs to start the season. Okay? They won in 2012. They were 10-6. Their win total was 6.5. Their Super Bowl odds were, I think, 6,600. And then correct me if I'm wrong. Prior to that, when was the last time they won the division? 2005, I think.
Yeah,
and their win total was
long breaks in between.
Okay. Point being, they've been so bad for so long, and they finally have a head coach, and it seems they have a young rookie quarterback, and they've got playmakers, and their defense is going to be improved. They're going to win some games this year. And I'm telling you, we're going to talk about Washington being right there late, I would say late November, early December. And that's all you can ask for if you're a Washington fan. And I think they're going to have an opportunity to pull out the division. And that I'm sticking with it, man. Angel, the Texers, the commenters, I am not retreating. There are those that friggin' run towards the fire and run away from the fire. I'm running into the fire. I'm overinflated with Washington and the Miami Dolphins.
And you're talking about two teams that have underachieved, and they're going to have to change their pattern. Now, Washington, I think, will be better because they have a new regime in there. But I just don't think roster for roster, player for player, they're better than the Eagles. I think the Eagles.
I agree. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't have one of those seasons where you just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, with like the Browns did kind of last year with Joe Flacco. What do you got, Angel? I see you want to jump in.
Yeah, because I still don't listen. I never got back to him about the whole Washington Redskins thing winning the division. I don't know, and I'm going to timestamp it. I'm going to throw it out there so that later on we're going back to January.
That's right. Hey, record it, man.
That's right. We go back in January. I want you to say that, now, of course, I'll make a monkey.
Hey, hold on a second.
Yes.
I do not backtrack from my picks when they are friggin' in writing and recorded. That I'm not one of those guys. We're not going to go on the air in December and Washington's friggin' 3-13. And I sit there and say, well, I knew they were going to have a bad season.
All right. I just want to put that out there on the record because to me, listen, and who knows? Jaden Daniels, he could light it up. Who knows? There going to be a lot. I just don't. Now, of course, the Eagles are for themselves to lose the division. You're right on that behalf. But I don't see the Redskins winning the division. No way, no how. And it'll be talked about again on Monday night on Lloyd Vance, Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. See how I plugged that there? You're welcome.
Not everyone taking over there. I mean, I had Costco rambling on, Angel trying to get me to do live reads when it's not ready, now plugging shows. I mean, what the hell's going on here? Yes, you can catch Lloyd Vance every Monday, 8 to 9. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. All right, my friend. And you know what? I can't wait to when you come on during the week and we do Vance's View, because I know your family watches your spots with me for years. And I guarantee it's going to be the crazy uncle at the barbecue, or one of the cousins are going to call you up and be like, why do you go on friggin' Q's show? Stop going on his show. Why?
They get mad at me all the time. If I pick against the Eagles, I'm a hater, and you know how it is. Some of the Eagles fans are a little rabid, and I have a couple of them that are down there in Brazil right now. They went to the game, so I cannot wait to see their experience down there. I hear traffic jams, crime, all kinds of stuff. Hopefully, it turns out well, and we have a good game tonight. I don't want to see a blowout, and I just think that the Eagles are better than what you're putting down there. So,
but yet you have them losing tonight. That's all right. But yet you have them.
We'll revisit it. We will revisit.
We always do. We always
put a pin in it, as they say.
Hey, listen. You've got the degrees in the back.
That's right, Dr. Lloyd.
All right, brother. Enjoy the game, man.
All right, guys. We'll catch up soon.
I appreciate you. All right, 5:20.
He needs to put down there Dr. Lloyd, NFL.
PhD.
Yeah.
PhD and BS. That's what I'm calling it. A BS and BS. Did you bullshit this week? I did. Are you planning to bullshit more this week? 727-858-6650. All right, picks on the other side to close it out on this very busy and love the engagement from you guys. Friday edition of the Drive with Q. Now I can remind you at our very good friends, one of our new sponsors of the show, Zen Auto Concepts. And again, detailing, they do some of the best in Florida. Check them out online, ZenAutoConcepts.com. Paint protection, clear bot, detailing as well. They're opened pretty much every single solitary day except Sundays, but 8 to 5:30 across the board. Friday, 8 to 5. Saturday, 8 to 12:30. Give them a call at 772-463-8500. If you connect with them online, you can click on to get a free coat. And, of course, follow them on social. Q's picks coming up on the other side to close the show.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Text the show
at 727-858-6650.
Now, back to Q.
My goodness. The anger on a Friday. By the way, I love when we do our little overdrive segment, right? A little extra time on the drive, this Friday football edition right here on Sports Radio 102. I'm getting hammered, by the way, with some of these picks and predictions.
I bet.
That's okay. Allow it. Allow it to commence. We don't mind. All right. So as we do our Q's picks, which is pretty much part of our BYP portion of the drive from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, BYP20. That promo gets you 20% off your first order. And of course, the picks from our good friends over at Played Against Sports. And as we always like to say, with these games, right? The picks, they're powered by all of our good friends. We do it. We have fun. Gamble responsibly. Don't take stock in the picks, but we will track them. We will have fun. The Duke is always confident. I am very confident with my picks in a league where the players always back their play. All right, here we go. Week 1 in the NFL. Here's picks from our good friends over at Played Against Sports. Got to start with that game, Buffalo and Arizona. We talked about it in the opening of the show. Arizona is going to be a sleeper team. I think offensively, they're going to be well equipped to match Buffalo. No digs for Buffalo. A lot of that offense is going to ride on the arm, heart, and legs of one Josh Allen. It's a different Arizona team. 6.5 is juicy. Give me Arizona pretty much with the touch against Buffalo. Game number 2. Oh, I can see it already. It is going to be a dicey proposition. If you are a playoff team in the NFL, you have to wax bad teams. Cincinnati is laying 7.5 at home. I know they've got all these friggin' distractions. Who's going to play? Who's not going to play? I get it. I'm with you. The Patriots have no offense. If the Patriots score 20, I would be absolutely shocked and floored. They're going to go with the veteran. They're not going to go with Drake May. Everyone loves the Drake. They're not doing it. They're going with Brissett. That line is pretty much comfortable, and it's going to sit exactly where it is, and that's 7.5. I would have loved to get the 7, but you know what? Cincinnati wins this one 30-13. Game number 3, Tampa Bay and Washington, a rookie quarterback. I told you Tampa Bay is going to win the division, but the Commanders, sorry guys, got to do it. The Commanders on the road to start the Jaden Daniels era, on the road to win the NFC East, getting 3.5. They're going to run the football. They're going to turn over Baker Mayfield, and they're going to win the game. Take Washington on the money line. Take them with the points, 3.5. Game number 4, it's a total on this one, the Rams and the Lions. I'll keep it short and I'll keep it simple. 52.5. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Offense is going to open it up. It's going to be a track meet indoors. Take the over in this one. And the final game on Q's picks for week 1, Jets and the 49ers. Listen, I don't think the Jets are a playoff team. I think this is make or break for Robert Saleh. I think this is make or break for Aaron Rodgers. I think San Francisco's got a bitter taste in their mouth. That defense is going to turn over Aaron Rodgers, short field for Brock Purdy and the gang. 49ers at home, laying the 4.5. Q's picks for week 1 of the NFL season. I'll post them out as well, powered from our good friends over at Played Against Sports. Still getting hammered. Michael on Twitter chimes in. Q, you've got to be out of your effing mind saying the Colts and Washington are making the playoffs. There's no way Washington wins the division. I'll argue with you that the Colts are going to be a better team. Anthony Richardson, I love his player props. What do you think about him going over 4,000 yards? Loving the show and the energy. A lot of things to dissect right there from Mikey. Good follow on Twitter, by the way. He does a lot of gambling. Richardson should be in line for over 4,000 total yards, if healthy. But I do like the player props, for Richardson for the season. Listen, player prop for Sunday, Daniel Jones, over 209 passing yards against Minnesota. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. You're probably going to get that tonight. That's not a bad play. It's not a bad play at all. So yeah, I think, listen, it's week 1. It's the filling out process. we have fun with it. We've got a long season. And as I mentioned, we gave you a little OT, a little overdrive of the drive on this Friday. So I think Angel, myself, and Lloyd were kind of in agreement. We do like Green Bay tonight in Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just waiting for the nod. I know you got stuff going on. I know there's thunder. You're playing music. I know you're checking stuff. I get it.
There's no thunder.
Oh, there's
beautiful sunshine outside. So yeah, no, I agree. I one of those funny feelings. It is week 1, so Eagles fans don't jump off the bridge. But it's one of those funny feelings that Green Bay, I think, will end up winning it tonight.
Jimmy Times in on Facebook. Q, loving the show. First time catching you guys on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. I'm down here in Sarasota. I know where I'm going to have my dial tuned in for the rest of the week. Can you go over some of the programming as well? I'll leave that to you, my friend. That's a new listener. We appreciate it.
No, we do appreciate it. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you can listen to The Drive with Q from 3 to 5 p.m. And the times could fluctuate a little bit because there's things that are happening. So we try to incorporate everyone. That's why we had the bonus time today. So meaning that it could start at 3, could end at 5:30, could end at 6. And depending on what these schedules are, sometimes we have that little fluctuation, which is good because here at Coastal Sports Network, that's what we can do. Also, Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 a.m., it's the Pete Shepard Show with Pete Shepard, formerly of WEEI and 97.3 ESPN, if I remember correctly, who has now been part of the Coastal Sports Network for, I don't know, over a few months. And Pete and I have been working with each other, coming up here quickly on a year. So you can listen to Pete. That's Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. And then myself, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12, Martinez and Company. That could also add some bonus time like today, for example, because I had to handle a situation earlier today. So it started a little bit later, but then we went later as well. So that is on from 10 to 12, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Jonathan Marshall, his podcast, you guys can hear sprinkled throughout the day, throughout the evening as well. With him and his brother, he just sent me the new one that he had. And as they talk about the NBA, also, as Gaspam Guy said, he used to be on 98.1 ESPN, meaning Pete Shepard. So thanks, Gaspam Guy, to let me know. Gaspam Guy, speaking of, is also on, he does the Bucks weekly recap.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that'll be Mondays, along with Mike Fuji as well, who will do the Eagles recap on Mondays. On Friday, both of those men will be on, as we had a party actually on the phone earlier today on my show. So he will be on Fridays to give me the weekly, or Wednesdays, depending. But he will do his weekly segment to make sure he keeps everybody who loves the Bucks on there, as well as Gaspam Guy is down here from Fort Myers. So he is on the latest edition here to the network. And you can hear Patrick Gilroy, Kat, his fiance. Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. They have the most probably raunchiest podcast out there where they don't hold anything. And I mean absolutely nothing back. That's sprinkled in as well. There'll be some other shows that will be coming on here shortly. So the lineup will change. That's why even though I update things on the Digital Sports Radio over on Sports Radio, but there's things that change and it has some fluctuation to it because as football season comes around, there's more shows that are normally added on during the football season, like the Aftermath. Those guys are phenomenal. They do a great job for the Bucks. Him and Coach Slick and AJ out from the DC, Virginia area. They do such a phenomenal job, and they really give you the raw details as they feel about the Bucks. So yeah, tons of stuff that is going up, and more stuff coming too. And then that's pretty much as far as the lineups here. So don't forget to download the Digital Sports app right from the homepage, right from sr1029thegame.com. You guys see it on the screen the entire time throughout the shows. So download the app, therefore you won't miss a thing. You can also text the show live from the app. You can call the show directly live from the app. You can watch these shows live from the app, including the Monday night show with Lloyd Vance from 8 to about 9:15-ish with him and Kevin Midget. And then Wednesday nights we have Talking Hoops from 8 to 9 p.m. with Coach Mack, Coach Johnson, and Ron Briscoe that worked with Nike and was also there when Nike had first started everything. So you guys saw the movie on Netflix. Ron Briscoe was part of that original team that was on there. So I'm really happy that Ron Briscoe's on. And also Darius Rice, former NBA player that's on as well throughout the football season. Is kind of tough because he coaches his son and coaches other things as well. But Darius is part of it. And I don't think I missed any of the shows that are on the network lineup as of right now. There may be something coming soon from 6 to 8 p.m., but I'm trying to work out the kinks there.
Nice.
To get the call from the gentleman, and then we'll keep you guys posted. And that's pretty much it. Yes.
No, it's fantastic. And you and I might add some programming in here and there for the weekend, especially with the NFL and college. By the way, my guy Johnny Mack chimes in. Cute. Got to remember Eagles' most season opening victories in the NFL since 2011. 11 of 13 kickoff weekend contests, 7-1 in the mark. By the way, they elevated tight end EJ Jenkins and lineman Nick Gates for tonight's game. That is in Brazil. These lines, as I mentioned, again, they're just going to hover and sit where they're at. Pittsburgh, be a little weary. We don't know what's going on with Russ Wilson or Justin Fields. Cincinnati has all those issues going on. Take weather in consideration as well. But I know we got to start wrapping up. You guys are absolutely fantastic with the comments, chiming in today from all over, up and down the state, Jersey, PA, Delaware, Florida. Good stuff from Jovan Alford, Nick Costco, Lloyd Vance. Of course, Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show, keeping us on the air. Who knows? I mean, this might be the norm now in a football Friday edition of The Drive, a little overtime, taking you to about 5:36. We don't know, but we always appreciate you guys chiming in. Don't forget, download the app, SR1029 The Game. Check us out online, SR1029thegame.com. As Angel just mentioned, he ripped through all the programming. We'll tweet out the picks. It's up on Broad Street South, on demand, my YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q. A new edition of BYP just dropped as well on Spotify, Amazon Music. That is also powered from Play It Again Sports. Appreciate Zen Concepts, Play It Again Sports, fresh roasted coffee, and of course, Acorn to Oak. By the way, I know we got about a minute or so, but you have a pretty unique thing you're going to be doing this weekend as well. If you just want to share with the listening audience.
Sure. I appreciate that. If you guys go to campingworldstadium.com, there's the link on my Twitter profile, X profile. You guys get up there. I've been inaugurated, and I'm very thankful, humble for it, to be the PA announcer for the Club America versus Atlético Nacional out there at Camping World Stadium. The game is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Some 10,000 plus already have purchased their tickets. You guys, tickets are still available. There's also a password that I have up there on the on my social media handle that you guys can buy one, get one free ticket if you are in the Orlando area. But it is the Soccer ID Cup, their inaugural season that they are launching, and I got the call to be the PA announcer. So
nice.
It will be, the very first time that I've not only be doing the both, because it is the English version followed by the Spanish version. And if anybody ever knows, when you have to make that switch on the fly, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But hopefully some 10,000 plus won't laugh and cackle or anything else when I end up doing it tomorrow. So it's going to be, it'll be fun, weather permitting. Obviously, there'll be a delay if there's lightning in the area. I think there has to be like a 10-mile restriction. But other than that, it is the first time that Club America, the illustrious Mexican team, Mexicano team, for that matter, will grace the field in Orlando, creating an unparalleled opportunity for fans to witness the top-tier soccer action in the beautiful city of Orlando. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was reading. By the way, folks, he's in radio. We call that reading the promo. Hey man, congrats. Wish you the best of luck. Have fun with that. All right, we got to start getting out of here. So again, appreciate everyone chiming in. Good stuff with the comments. You guys can follow us on social media. We've got it plastered with our programming grid and our bios on SR1029 FM The Game, but good stuff from Nick Costco, Lloyd Vance, and Jovan Alford. Mi hermano, Angel Martinez, behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. Everyone have a wonderful Sports Friday. Enjoy the football, college football, and of course the NFL. We are in full gear. A lot of content, a lot of engagement, a lot of entertainment, a lot of opinions, a lot of nonsense, and a lot of fun. So keep it locked in right here to SR1029 FM The Game and The Drive with Q, among the other fantastic shows and content we have on Coastal Sports Network. And with that, as always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. We will talk to you Monday, a little Man Up Monday for some of our predictions. If they went astray, we'll have a little fun with that, but we'll talk to you Monday. As always, be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, mi dia.